Good Saturday, everybody. It has been an amazing week. There's been a lot of stuff happening in the world. And hopefully, if you're checking in with us for the first time, you'll stick around and see that we value real conversation, insight, and community, and just community in general. I'm Q,
Brewer.
and this is the QBrew podcast. Welcome in, guys. So,
Yeah, I welcome in.
wanted to start off today with a little bit of fun, right? My sense of humor is strange, so I'm not gonna try to justify it. I'm just gonna let you have it. At least stuff that I think is funny. That also kind of ties to what's going on in the world. I wasn't like, I kind of want to rely on other people to send in some clips and stuff that they think's funny, so it can help inform our world. Because working on some of the stuff that we get into, it takes a lot of it kind of can get you stuck in that headspace. So being able to laugh and being able to play is really important. So that's why I like the idea or the concept of starting off with fun. We did it what last week or no? We did it 2 weeks ago, and I really enjoyed the start of that one.
Yeah, I did too.
So first up, I want to pull up the Steak and Shake. So Steak and Shake, if you guys don't know, apparently the third person of like the publicly traded company, like the person who owns like the most of the company, decided that they wanted to fund a billboard um, addressing the cracker back the cracker barrel logo and the controversy and the branding and the direction they were going. So to me, this is someone actually saying, okay, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. And this is a really effective way to get stuff done. But I think this also kind of shows that like we're not in the same capacity to do things that other people are. But if you do have the opportunity, then I think that you should. And I think stepping up like this in a time for Steak and Shake, like, I'm going to look up Steak and Shake right now. Actually, no, I'm getting distracted. Brewer, you have to stop me from
Haven't.
getting distracted. Okay, let's read through it real quick. We're gonna read through the post. It's from the Steak and Shake account on X. It says, "Yes, we are responsible for this billboard. Cracker Barrel's board has failed its shareholders. It has spent over a decade fighting with one of its largest shareholders rather than collaborating for the good of the company. CB has not been at the forefront of the DEI movement. At the same time, it has reduced food quality and burned millions of failed acquisitions. The board apparently has more regard for DEI than ROI, and ROI is return on investment. Now we are running a proxy contest at our own expense to fire the CEO. Biglari is doing the work left undone by the board. Fire the CEO, save Cracker Barrel." And then it's a literal billboard with instead of having Cracker Barrel written, it just says "fire the CEO," and it was the new attempt at the Cracker Barrel logo. Like, what are your thoughts on this?
It's hilarious. It's trying to force accountability at the same time to uplift the um, brand of the Steak and Shake. And it's kind of a marketing genius, honestly. It's just, I wasn't even aware this happened. That this hadn't come across my timeline at all. Of course, wasn't seeking it out, but that's hilarious. I just, it's nothing short of genius.
Like this is yeah, this is good marketing. Like I will commit now to go getting Steak and Shake as long as there's one. I don't even know if there's any in the state. Let's see. Steak and Shake.
I
Yeah.
haven't been to a Steak and Shake in a while. It's pretty prominent where I'm at. Of course, not where I live, but I do know in the major cities that's around me, I think there are Steak and Shakes. I think I've seen some drive by. I could
Oh, it's
be
so happening. Wait,
misremembering.
wait, wait, wait. How far is it?
They make some very good milkshakes.
Oh, you are not
They
joking.
are, yeah.
Whenever I was stationed on my permanent duty assignment in the military, there was a Steak and Shake that came in um like a
Oh, I'm
mile or
jealous
two
of
away
that.
from base. Everybody like the first week it was opened, like there were just lines out to the intersection next to the interstate. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's a bit much. Kind of like when what was that? That donut, the big donut conglomerate that kind of exploded. I forget the name of it all of a sudden. like back in the early 2000s or maybe late 90s.
Duncan,
Um, no,
Krispy
it's
Kreme.
like the one that has the conveyor. Krispy Kreme, thank you. Yeah, Krispy Kreme, and that exploded. That God, people in the town that I lived in, the major city that I lived in, was just every that they opened multiple at once, and every single one of them had a line like you just described for fucking donuts. I love donuts. It's my
Okay, okay,
favorite
okay,
thing to
okay,
eat in the
okay.
world.
Right, right, right. But
But
but have you had a fresh Krispy Kreme donut,
yes,
like warm and fresh?
yes, yes. Like they picked it up off the conveyor belt and handed it to me. Yes, they are good, but
Okay.
just anyways, moving on.
But I think
But yeah, the
for this with
good.
me, it was. I think we're gonna start seeing a little bit more of this in like moving forward with businesses just in general, because DEI is on its way out. At
Oh,
least
it's
I don't see how
it's
it can
gone.
make any more progress. It seems like it's making a very swift retreat, and that's why I think the landscape of what's going on in the world, even politically, is changing too. Because DEI is no longer going to be effective moving forward. I think, at least in corporate architecture, corporate structure. Because I mean, if you're not making money, and a lot of these DEI companies, even DEI games, we don't have to look very hard
Yeah.
to look in the gaming space to say, hey, if this game touched DEI or had some kind of that stuff that was just not important to the game, not helpful, but
Hmm.
it was more of a political narrative or agenda that they had, they didn't do very well.
No, because they were. I mean, oh, we've already talked about that topic at nauseum here in a few times, but I mean, the just overall gaming space, it. They are still trying to influence it. The credit card companies are even have been pulling more of their shenanigans and trying to, force certain things into video games so they won't platform it or something like that.
Well,
But
Visa did state
it's
that they wanted to get into the gaming space.
yeah, like they actually got a new high level position that they're creating that is specifically going to be used to target and push political narratives inside of games. Which what's going to happen, I think, with that as someone who is making a game, um, the indie creators are going to take over the space. A lot of the big AAA games that you're seeing now are still going to be made, but they're not going to do as well. You're going to start seeing a lot of these the bigger companies that have hundreds if not thousands of people working on some of these games are going to have their budgets severely reduced, which is going to decrease the overall size, and the the indie gaming scene I think is going to explode. Visa is trying to limit that as much as they can through like small moves here and there that I have been seeing, but
I don't
I
think it's
think
small
it's going to
moves.
backfire.
I think it might backfire, but I don't think the long-term goal is what we need to be aware of, and all of the incremental
Hmm.
steps getting us closer to that.
Yeah.
It's not about banning porn or banning anime images. It's about the technical control needed to enforce that.
Yeah. 100%.
We'll end up getting into that in a great detail. That's going to be something I'm going to be well researched, and I might even invite a state rep to participate, even though I don't think they'll come.
Oh, that would be interesting.
It would be.
Might
We'll see.
well, here in a couple of months, I mean, you might even be able to get that Virginia legislator, Nick. I forget how to. I don't want to say his last name because it sounds like Nick Froites, but it's not the same guy. Um, but it's the one who's like has the coffee mug that he drinks at the end of all of his little shorts or whatever. If you've seen those on YouTube or whatnot, talk to him one of these days. I would be nice. But anyways,
Nick Freitas.
Fritas, there it is. Yeah, Fritas,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
that guy.
yeah.
That would be a fun
Wasn't
discussion.
he the one that would like do the shorts and then be like, write that down?
I'm not sure. I don't recall that ever. I just
He's
know that he, at the end of it, he makes a statement and then drinks from his coffee cup.
Yeah,
So,
in the impression that I've gotten from him is he seems like he'd be a rather solid person up front.
oh yeah, well, he's also
He presents well.
yeah, well, military veteran and
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, so there's the steak and shake. The next one that I want to get into, like, I do not know what it is about France. France is such an amazing country. I heard a couple of years ago, or I read an article a couple of years ago, they tried to raise the age of consent to 13.
Raise?
Yeah, they wanted to raise the age of consent to 13 from 15 or 16.
Sorry, I consider that lowering the age of consent.
You would
But
be
I
absolutely
understand.
correct to every other person that read it, but that's how it was presented. At least what I saw, that's what was presented. So I don't know what's going on in France, but I really can't talk about France without talking about what in the world is going on between Bridget Macron and Candace Owens. It's strange, but it's fun. So let's just look at the scenario for what it is, okay? Candace called Bridget a man repeatedly. And it's been gone back and forth, and Macrons are suing Candace. So the first lady of another country is suing a citizen of the United States over just the claim that she's not really a no. I don't remember if it's whether she's a man or not, but the articulation of the words actually goes into kind of what we get into later, paying very, very close attention and scrutinizing the exact words.
Hmm.
But so the title of this headline from Breitbart is Bridget Macron to offer court photographic evidence proving she is a woman.
I don't even want to begin to imagine what that is going to be. So I understand and swab DNA. I mean, the problem is with me is like I will doubt regardless of what they say one way or another just because of my inability now to trust anything that comes out of any kind of major news network or much of
That's
anything I
true.
see.
That's true.
So it's well, what my question is how is a non-U.S. citizen able to sue a U.S. citizen in U.S. court?
I don't
I just don't know the legality on this. It doesn't make any sense.
I don't really think that you can. I have a conspiracy speculation on it though. Actually, I'm just gonna say I have a speculation on it. I'm done using the word conspiracy. I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm
agreed.
done. I'm done with
Yeah,
it.
agreed.
Um, it's a possibility or it's not, right? So
Exactly.
I think that maybe it's testing the waters to see what kind of judicial framework a global structure would need in order to hold people from another country accountable.
Ooh, this could set a precedent.
Uh huh.
That's yeah, I didn't think about that.
Uh huh.
Ooh, that's good. That's well, it's bad, but the your idea and the way you frame that is good.
Yeah. It's something
To
to
bring into the conversation.
something to look into and consider. I think maybe. Um.
Ooh, that
So
just started a train of thought in my head. Anyways,
so with this situation, like this is a picture that would make this person appear to be of the female sex. I'm also done using gender too. I'm just gonna say male or female sex.
yeah, works
It's
for me.
it's simpler, and then if we can go into the nuances of all this stuff. But what's the simplest way to test whether someone would be a man or a woman?
Well, simplest.
Simplest way.
Uh, well, I don't know nowadays because of plastic surgery can change things.
So
Um,
that rules out the evidence or the photographic evidence. Well,
yeah,
clearly, if you show me a picture of your giblets, it might look like there's a woman down there.
yeah,
So
but
we
there's no guarantee.
right.
I mean,
So
the
that doesn't
simplest way
work.
would to do the DNA tests, of course.
What's the simplest DNA
Um,
test that you can do?
I don't know. I've never really looked into that too
I
deep.
asked Grok this yesterday, and other sources appear to say a similar thing. It would be something as simple as a cheek swab test.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's easy to
my
do.
proposition, I invite Bridget and I invite Candace. I will oversee the entire thing. Okay, what we'll do. I even wrote an X post about this. So you guys can go back to my stuff and get on board with it. What we'll do is we'll put them above trap doors facing each other. We'll have a doctor. We'll have two doctors. One that Candace chooses, one's that the Macron chooses, and they'll both do a cheek swab. They'll go to the opposing sides. Candace to hers, and Brigitte's to hers. They'll run the test, and then whoever line gets dropped into a tank of something.
That would be a very entertaining.
Think like Japanese game show level awesome.
Yeah, that's exactly actually what I was thinking with the elevators, and yeah,
That would be so fun. But I mean,
that would be interesting.
something that simple would solve this whole thing. Why does this need to be an international argument? Why does this need to be on display? There's the level of silliness for this. You could end this in like it shouldn't even be to this point. But for all the people that think this is funny and all that, definitely go hear Candace in her own words and see what some of the questions are. Make up your mind for yourself. Personally, I do not think that photographic evidence proves that you're a woman. Sorry.
Well, the fact they put it in quotes
Right.
is also like going along how they present it in the words they use. It's by
I,
saying quote unquote photographic evidence. Okay, well, that kind of insinuates to me, oh, so you've doctored that. So
oh
it's,
yeah, AI photographic. I mean,
yeah,
see that's what I was saying. Like if you present an image, how do we know that it wasn't doctored outside of doing like a live stream, which isn't legal?
let's just not do that.
Let's
Let's
not.
just not talk about that. Yeah,
Let's get a cheek swab done and put this to rest. Or there's more to this story. It
yeah, the
seems.
problem.
Why would you waste resources on this?
I mean, what I would do is get like, not kidding, 5 different cheek swabs, send them to different companies. They have no idea who it's about, and let all of them, return the reports, and they open the reports live on camera from the sealed envelope they were in.
Mm,
And
I think
all
that
right,
I think that's
true,
too long of
true,
a chain of
true.
command. I think there's
I
a
agree.
chain of custody. I mean, there's too long a chain of custody. Like
That,
that's why I was
that's
saying
what I
like you literally have to do it from the cheek, run the test there. What's the result?
Yeah, and considering the technology they got today, that's, I mean, they could
Yeah,
do the PCR test for COVID and stuff like
yeah,
that. So yeah.
it wouldn't be hard.
So
So I don't
yeah.
buy it. But let us know if you guys buy it in the likes and the comments. And this was our fun section of the day. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, and we'll go ahead and pop over to the next section.
Yeah.
Okay, so you wanted to start this next section off, Brewer. We'll let you go ahead and take it because this was one that you wanted to look at. It's talking about the H-1B Microsoft data leak. What would you like to go ahead and start us off with it?
So basically, it was saying Microsoft was warning their H-1B visa holders to, one, don't leave the country. Two, if you're outside the country, get back as soon as possible. And it just kind of highlights the fact that if Microsoft is thinking that there is some kind of validity to this and that it is going to impact their H-1B visa holders, uh, and they're willing to like disclose this kind of information, knowing full well that it's probably going to be leaked if they did not leak it themselves. Uh, Basically, what Trump has done has pulled the rug out from underneath the countries of India and China and even Pakistan. There are some that, the place I used to work in the banking industry, had more H-1B visas than they had American citizens working for them, at least in the areas that I worked as a software engineer. So the
There,
simple fact that this is being done, the fact that the current H-1B visas, in order to re-up, is going to cost $100,000 for them to even put in the application, is not even guaranteed to be successful or, renew the visas, is massive. I do have a fear, not really fear, is probably the wrong word. I have an inclination to think that a lot of it isn't going to go as it is presented here by Trump. But I do think there's going to be like compromises and stuff being done. But just in the proper Trump manner, he is putting out something that is just so over the top when it comes to certain situations. It's to force people into a conversation. The same thing he does with his tariffs is to force countries into the conversation to actually sit down and negotiate. So I think this is what this is.
So this is just to get
And
them to the table.
basically it's all, I think it's also to punish India and China because a lot of the trade um, stuff that had been going on, and the
What
fact that India has been seen, the Indian Prime Minister has been seen walking out with Putin and uh, I forget the name of the president of China all of a sudden, top of my
G?
head. Yeah, Xi. And like they were walking out and I forget, for some kind of parade or something else like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that this is kind of Trump's backhand to India, quite honestly.
Could be.
And I did some research too on what the corporate taxes are for India, and they are like 36% of all funds that are in revenue that is earned through some kind of corporation inside of the country of India is paid to the government, while the U.S. is, I think it's like 16 to 18%, depending. So basically, it's the fact that companies are not going to transfer some of their corporations or a lot of their stuff overseas is because of that high corporate tax rate. So it's just like everything that India has been doing when it comes to the trade deficits and the political theater and everything else that they've been doing here fairly recently. Um, they basically have now been like cut off at the knees, and we're going to likely going to begin seeing a fairly sizable exodus of H-1B visa holders from the country. And I was just also looking through some Reddit posts that I saw of people who are supposedly H-1B visa holders. Again, I don't
Do
hold
you,
a whole lot of credence to it,
do you
but
know?
some of them were wanting to unalive themselves.
Oh, I've
So,
seen
because they
posts
didn't want
like
to go
that.
back to India. Yeah,
Well, I mean, it sounds like that person should seek some mental health
agreed.
professional because there are
But
there
it's,
are people that I don't want to downplay them saying that, even though like
mm,
there's two ways to look at, well, there's more than two ways to look at this, but I think the two most common ways to look at that person saying something like that is, one, they truly feel that way, and the other is they're just crying victim because they actually have to work now, or they have to do something now, or it seems unfair to them. Maybe it seems unfair to them is maybe the proper way to say it.
I mean,
Um,
I do kind of see that it. I mean, in a way, it is unfair to that individual because they were given a promise, whether by a U.S. company, and they're taking advantage of it. I don't hold anything against the and individuals who come over here to or come to the United States in order to, make a better life for themselves, to get paid, more money than they would in India. I understand their reasoning. I don't agree with the companies that allow it to happen, but I don't blame that individual for doing it. And
why not?
because, how do I say this? I mean, the irony of that statement I just made is
Mm-hmm.
that I was laid off. So more, from my opinion, based on what I, have come to find out through other sources and from where I used to work, where I was laid off, they were hiring H-1B visas for everyone that was laid off that was an American. I mean, I'm not going to make any claim to say that as a fact, but it does kind of, in my opinion, that it lead to that conclusion. The
Well,
But
I
at
mean,
the same time, what? Go ahead.
just from a general business stance, if that's one way that you can save money or maximize your profits, that's just a business doing business.
Yes.
So I don't, I mean, I think some people see this and think, oh, there's absolutely malicious intent. No, that's just the way the business works. That's the way, like, the larger the business gets, like the more careful you need to be of it.
Yeah. The problem is though, it is a self-defeating prophecy in a way, because if you are bringing in nothing but, let's say nothing, but most of your employees are H-1B visas, and you're come up with every excuse under the sun in order to make that happen, it will eventually lead to, the United States as a whole becoming in a dramatically weaker position. And even those who make that decision, who are American citizens, will eventually be ousted and replaced
Yep.
by people with H-1B visas. And that happened multiple times in the place I used to work. And it's just the irony of it all is the weaponized empathy that these cultures, these invasive cultures inside into the United States, and I will consider the Indian culture, and at least into the corporate sphere of the places that I have worked, is extremely invasive. They come in, they take over, they hire their own, and there were even I have stories I'm not going to tell here because it might actually, could be getting into
Don't tease me.
NDA territory, but of individuals who were managers at the place I worked over teams or whatever will only hire other individuals from India because they were from India. And if anyone that was white was put on their team, they made their life a living hell. And I know multiple people that graduated from the same college I did, that worked for the same place that I did, basically were pushed out after 6 months because their manager, who was Indian, was just straight up being racist to them. So, but again, they're white, so you can't be racist to them, right?
Well, I mean, we
I
saw a
say that in
similar
jest,
example
but
of that I will probably end up talking about in the future.
yeah,
That's prevalent in I mean we saw that in what was it, Dearborn, Michigan, with the mayor telling that a Christian citizen that he wasn't welcome there and that he would, I think he said he would celebrate or throw a parade whenever the guy left.
yeah,
So
I did
that
see that.
mindset isn't just in corporate culture; it's in government now.
Yep.
Um,
Well, it's just any kind of invasive culture. They instead of because of their inability to actually go to war like they had in the past, because in the past, most of the time they would just do that. They now are coming in, and I mean, it's obvious they're weaponizing the empathy of Christian white
yeah.
Christians in this country, and now they're once they get into the position of power, they are now doing what they're doing. So it's just completely obvious. And the problem
It's
is that people are going to start pushing back, and especially with the current political climate in this country, I mean, people got to be careful
the
because it's people are once they begin to really realize the danger that they may perceive themselves to be in, things may start happening that I don't really want to say. I don't want to happen, but it may be an actual result. So,
a cornered animal is a dangerous one, and you should treat it as such.
and to kind of touch on that briefly, the current population of this planet who is white, traditionally as what we would define as white, is 8%. We are the minority
White
of the
people are.
world
You guys heard that here. Breaking. Brewer has officially declared that white people are a minority in this world.
in the world, not the United States or Europe.
I didn't
Well,
misstate you. I said the
actually, may
world.
become a. Yeah, I'm just saying. I'm making it clear. I'm not saying the United States, the world. And empires in the last 200, 300 years, 400, maybe even past millennia, have been predominantly white. So, what happens when you get to a point where you have to force those same European descended individuals into a corner?
I
It's
th-
going to be
we're
a
seeing that now.
not good time for anyone involved. I
Well,
hope I'm wrong. I don't
no,
want that to happen.
I think we're seeing
But
the pieces of that happening already. I mean, I actually we'll cover that. We'll get into that next. Actually, that's actually a good segue into what's going on in the UK. I'll relabel these just because we ended up going in towards like, let's look at the UK and go what's going on in the UK. So I want to jump over to a Tommy Robinson post. And what this post shows is it reads, reports of a migrant following a young girl home from school, then proceeding to enter her front door. Now, I don't have any way to validate the person in this image, but the person walks up from the sidewalk, opens the door, appears to be looking inside, looking for some different angles. Is it okay? And then starts to go in, takes one step, and then it looks like someone appears. Is there audio? Okay, there. So someone actually got to the door and told him to leave. Don't know if this
It was, it was a male voice that told him to leave.
right. So I'm guessing that was this girl's father. This looks to be like a very nice neighborhood, clean, like brick driveway that has like a loop around. This is like a wealthy neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my first thought of is, guys, during these times, lock your freaking doors. I don't care if you feel safe in the reddest, part of the reddest state. Lock your door. Um, Mainly because like look, this clip. How long does this go? He's at the sidewalk. How long until he gets to that front door and just opens it? Let's find out. Let's address the reality of this
Eight
situation.
seconds.
8 seconds. By 10 seconds, he walked from the curb, opens the door. He doesn't look like he belongs there, based on how his body posture and like his reaction whenever he starts to step inside.
Mm-hmm.
And if this is happening in the UK, like I don't understand why they haven't.
Haven't what?
How can this happen?
Well, this is fear. This
What?
is
But
a
I'm just like for me, it's like I see it on the wall, and I give a profound amount of respect for people not acting like the other side. But
yeah.
there's examples all over the place in the UK right now talking about there being Sharia law being demanded in the country. It's a completely different completely different like system.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Well,
but
you had the march of the 3 million people. Um, there is a movement, and there are people who are ready to do what they need to do. The problem is right now the dissent, well, what the UK government considers dissent from the whites and the actual, natural citizens of the country. Um, there's just too much demonization. People are being thrown in prison, and they are ignoring all of this because of. I mean, we could sit here and discuss until we're dead probably to the rationale, the reason why the government is doing this. But the fact of the matter is, it's happening, and people, like I keep saying, are going to start pushing back. The white people as a whole are being cornered, and however, I do think I will say the non-white culture and trying to think of the right phrasing for this. Basically, everything that's been happening is starting to start take a couple steps back because the people like what happened, last week with assassination of Charlie Kirk, the rights respond to it, and they're no longer going to allow the left to continue their rhetoric and the way that they have been doing it. So it's the pushback is going to begin. I just cannot foresee to what level. Occam's razor would suggest that it's just going to start to not be violent, not be overly violent. Anyway, there will be situations, there will be circumstances where violence will be used from the right onto the left, but it will most likely be measured and direct response, not just a going through and driving through a crowd of protesters type of thing.
dude, the Christmas parade a
But
couple years ago,
what do you? I got to refresh my memory.
it was a couple of years ago. It was a Christmas parade where like I think it was like a black SUV or something just drove through an entire crowd of people.
Yeah, well, there's actually a few instances of that. I
Yeah.
mean, but then again, we don't need to get specific. So yeah, that has happened, but it's someone left leaning or someone who was Muslim going in and doing that type of thing. But it's going to get to a point where the right is just going to start taking a bit more vigilante justice type of thing. Like, um, I would not be surprised in 6 months that if someone does that, they're just going to come out and start beating them.
I'm
Like
waiting for that
they're
to
just not
happen.
going to allow.
I'm
Yeah.
waiting for that to
The
happen. I think there's a
so
fine line that we need to consider for that. I do kind of miss the ability to just get into a fist fight, get your ass kicked, and learn your lesson. Nowadays,
hmm
you're not allowed to hit anybody because you'll go to jail, you hurt the other person, they'll sue you for liability. All of that shit is the problem. Like I don't think that violence is the solution in most cases. I'm not going to say it's never the solution because that wouldn't make sense. But running your mouth and being a spoiled brat and getting spanked is what a lot of people probably really needed.
yeah.
I got whipped as a child. I'm pretty well behaved. I'm pretty well. I wouldn't. I'm
Eh,
okay.
yeah. I wasn't beaten as a child. I did get spanked, and other stuff when I was younger. Because one thing my dad, just quick anecdote here, did not like was me lying to his face, especially when he saw like an action that I did. And then I lied to his face, and he promptly let me know I was standing in the window. I saw you do it, and you just lied to me. Bend your ass over. So from that point forward, I was more cognizant of my surroundings before I tried to do something nefarious. So he
Oh,
kind
you made
of
sure
taught
that
me
no one
how
was
to,
looking before you lied about it.
pretty much. I made sure that my dad wasn't around. I was very cognizant when he was going on his business trips, and yeah. So it taught me to be one, don't get caught. Is kind of what he told me there, or taught me there. I told him that after the fact, and he kind of laughed. But I mean, years later, like after getting out of the military and sit down and talking to him about it. But at the same time, though, it created in me a measured response to everything. So I do think that some kind of physical punishment is needed, especially on boys, not so much on girls. But then again, I mean, I can only speak from the male, point of reference here.
Yeah.
But I do think that certain physical punishments for boys need to occur so that they can understand that the actual consequences of physical pain.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of, I mean, this is just, my own personal anecdotal analyzation of information that that I have seen over the last, my lifetime, I'll say, that men who attack and, use violence against women more than likely were not did not have any kind of violence used against them when they were children. So they don't understand the true depth of what can occur when you attack someone else.
It's like not knowing your own strength, right?
Yes, very similar.
Yeah.
And that they don't understand the damage that can occur.
So
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 if
I'll
you are spanked as a child, you begin to feel this innate understanding of how punching or open hand slap on the butt can cause pain, and you're more sympathetic to those who you could cause pain on. But I think the whole don't, spank your child and everything else is actually extremely detrimental to society. I'm definitely not advocating for the harming of, to the point where there's scars or, like
but
extreme
we
psychological
need to we
damage
need to
or
have real parenting. I think most
yes,
people can reasonably understand. No one is like, oh, go out and just like slap your kid around. Like there's clear
yes,
examples of people going way too far and not, in my opinion, not really. They should probably shouldn't have had kids, but it's a different story.
yeah. That's a whole nother rabbit hole.
Right. Which
So,
I was
but
looking
yeah,
for
but
something
that's
that
just
could.
kind of my take on it. But specifically for, the kind of the UK dangers here is that I have seen multiple of these. I have seen reports of people actually entering the homes, and when they release the videos of it occurring, the people who were the victims actually get rolled up and put, charged against them, while the, assailant or possible assailant, is free. They were released, and they did the exact same thing a couple days later. So it's the culture at which these individuals come from are just very much allowing for this type of actions to occur, and they're not getting punished for it, so it's reinforcing it.
Right.
So, I mean, I could start going down the rabbit hole of the cultures at which a lot of these immigrants come from, specifically in Africa. and how they attack women, and it is considered a cultural norm for it to occur. And so they're bringing that cultural norm to the UK, and you get individuals like this guy trying to walk into a house to do his thing because he honestly, assuming that the cultural significance of what I'm talking about, where he's from, um, they assume that they have the right to attack these women.
Oh, it's just a well-intentioned rape then. Got it.
Well, no, well, that's I'm not even going to touch that with a 100-foot pole.
Okay, so sorry,
But
I rephrase. So it's a well-intentioned alleged rape.
well, no, no, I'm just saying that they are so. I don't even want to use the word indoctrinated because it's not even the right word, but that's the only one I can really come to mind. The mentality that they have, that they brought up, the culture is just that it just happens. And in some of the countries these guys are coming from, when they talk about it, oh, it just happens. Yeah, that happens all the time. Like it's just completely normal. Like it's a fact of life to some of these guys. And the fact that they can now think that they can do it here is because they don't understand, they don't have the intelligence level to understand the difference in the nuances in the cultures.
Or they don't understand
And
the part of themselves for introspection, or a part of
correct.
themselves that sees something as good or wrong. Because to them, they don't see it as being good or bad.
Yeah, it's just a fact of life. So that is the banality of evil. That is a prime example of it. Is that they just don't see it as evil because that's what they've always known and that's what their culture is. That is banality of evil. So, or an example of it, I should
So
say.
so how do you address that whenever they want you dead, but you don't want them dead?
Well,
It doesn't seem like those two things can really overlap in the same space.
no, they cannot. Absolutely cannot. I mean, there are many things that we could say, and try to avoid what the obvious answer is, because one, I am not going to sit here and advocate for the deaths of a group of individuals because of these kind of actions. I
Killing
definitely
people
think that they
easily.
deserve something, but I'm just not gonna sit here and start saying that they need to be executed in their own individual ways or whatever.
Oh
But
no, no.
there needs to be pushback. They need to have ramifications for their actions, so that is just not happening.
I
Because
think there has to be humane actions or humane
yes,
conditions, but there has to be action, and the action being uncomfortable or requiring change. I'm done with the whole like my feelings. No, no, like I don't care about your feelings. Like
to be quite honest, the kind of a stance that I have kind of adopted, I'm talking this is like a shift in the past 2 weeks.
okay,
And it is something that I've thought about since the death of Charlie Kirk, was that, how do I say this? Kind of like the biblical principle of an eye for an eye. I don't mean it in the most literal term, because eye for an eye will make the world blind, type of
hmm
the saying that goes with that. But a proportional response is warranted. So if someone, the way I'm kind of see it is like during medieval times, or even in Japan, during the feudal Japan with the samurai, if you unsheath your sword, you are prepared to die. So using that as a metaphor, if someone attacks me, they have unsheathed their sword. I have my sword and it's always going to be sheathed, but I will unsheath mine in response. So, as I do not advocate violence, I do advocate for the self defense using violence. So, if at any time someone unsheathes their sword in some kind of metaphorical sense, I will unsheath that same sword. So, if they're trying to attack me with words, I will respond accordingly. If they attack me in fist, I will respond accordingly. If they attack me with a weapon, I'm unsheathing the largest sword I have. I don't care the size of their weapon. I am going at them with, a weapon in turn
so
with overwhelming force.
strategically though,
Yes.
you're always on the defense.
Yes, you
So
are correct.
unless you make it a war of attrition, you can't win.
Well, you got to keep in mind okay, it's just a metaphor.
Right.
The whole point of it is that I they have unsheathed their sword, meaning they have made it known that they are going to attack me. They have made it known that
Right.
what their goal is.
Their goal is
The
now to
moment the
take
sword is
over. Yeah.
unsheathed, before the action is taken, my sword is also unsheathed. So it's not necessarily a straight defense, because here's the difference: is like they can unsheathe their sword and I can unsheathe mine and attack in one stroke. Using the whole samurai for that specific sword style or whatever. Just again, metaphorically speaking here. So I think, depending on the situation, I will strike first. Type of situation. So like I'm not. It's not just a straight defensive posture, but it's when the
Yeah.
sword is unsheathed, you are now open to attack
Yeah,
immediately.
it's like you've made your position clear, so it's
Yes.
fine to defend yourself, and I think we've definitely reached that spot. I see the picture you were trying to paint now.
Mhm.
Um,
So it's
but
it just again the metaphor specifically of when you unsheath your sword, you are ready to die.
right.
So
So that's also a single variable. Whenever we start adding into like, okay, well, that's just one, and you have to look at the world through more than just one lens to make sure you're getting an
yes,
accurate picture. So once you take a defensive posture and then you add the awareness or the intelligence of what the other people are doing, that's how you can prepare and know what's coming. Um,
yes,
okay.
exactly.
So
Good.
whenever I move the topics around, I want you to cover. I want to go back, continue on the British line or the UK line. I want to go into the thought that you had on Milo, and I think that one of the things that you said is going to be will spark some ideas. So, are you fine with switching over to the Milo now?
Yeah, that's fine. You're
Okay.
good. I've kind of went a little further than I went to for the dangers of the UK at home, but the fact that I have made my position like extremely clear, um, with that is it's good for me. So
Cool. Okay. So this post from Milo. I don't know who Milo is. Um.
okay, I
So let me read the post
I
real quick.
don't know. Like, I'll just do a real. I'm not going to talk about the history of him because I don't know a whole lot of the history. I do know that he is a former extreme leftist who, to kind of use what I believe a quote from him was, he saw the light and saw just how bad the left is, and just like catapulted to the right, as
When
far right as you can possibly get.
when was the shift?
And he's also a gay man.
Okay.
I put that pause there to kind of make people think about it for a sec. And to the best of my knowledge, he's a gay man, so I'll leave it at that. Um, he in the early 2000s basically was what the left demonized Charlie Kirk to be. Milo is probably the best way that I can say this.
So
And
are you
as
saying
you can,
that the attributes that they've been trying to associate Charlie with, Milo actually
Milo
represented it
is.
in some capacity, or is? Okay.
Pretty much. I mean, it could be that might be painting Milo too dark of a light, and he may actually not be as bad. But they have awoken the sleeping monster because this guy retired from the public space some time ago because he was constantly
Oh,
attacked.
he's the one that came out of retirement.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I saw a
And
post about that. Okay.
I saw that post, his post, within minutes come across my timelines when he said, "All right, I'm out of retirement," and I just went, "Oh, I'm trying not to cuss on this stream." I was like, uh-oh, they don't know what they have done with the left. I mean, especially now with how radical everyone on the right is starting to become, at least in what's the word? Comparative to what it was before. I'm not saying the right's becoming radical. It's just people are definitely becoming a little bit more radical.
They're becoming more
Um,
spiritual.
well, I'm just doing it from the perspective in general. I'm not,
Okay.
I'm speaking from a true moderate position here.
Okay.
So, like, I'm not saying that the right is radical. It's that they are becoming a bit more radical.
Is that just
But
is it just the appearance of that because the Overton window is shifting?
very likely.
Okay.
But it's very likely what's happening. And people are also, it's like, are no longer going to be silent. Because, I mean, mostly, I mean, to slightly deviate here for a moment, people on the right want to be left alone. We don't want to be a part of the conversation. I say we. I don't really. I consider myself a true moderate now, just to state that as a blanket fact. Because there's some things that the right is doing that I absolutely do not agree with. Many things the left is doing I do not agree with, and they do not go to a zero sum. So technically, I would be considered more right leaning, but I'm just staying out of the right versus left paradigm completely within myself. So whenever I speak about something, it is speaking from a true moderate position, in that I am speaking it again, like we do with the disclaimer, from the perspective of whatever we are speaking about. So that being said, Milo is definitely probably one of the most far right people you can get. And to kind of prove that is like on the screen of a tweet that he has done in his response to a leftist who really doesn't know too much. Hold on. Sorry, I got distracted there for a moment. Let me go back to the screen
Yeah, sorry.
as soon as I find the and well, I'll talk about that later. Talk to you about that later. Anywho, the basically scroll down slightly so I can actually see the image, the full text there. So that this individual, like Erica Kirk, can't carry Charlie's legacy. His entire ideology doesn't even allow women in positions of power. Y'all chanting, she'll continue his work, while his work was literally about keeping women silent. Patriarchy doesn't pass the mic, sis. So obviously this person is completely out of context, does not understand what, who Charlie Kirk really was and what he was actually trying to say, bought into the left narrative so hard that she refuses to look up from her phone to think for herself. However, Milo's response, scroll up if you would, was no, no. Charlie just wanted them to prioritize motherhood. I'm the one who wants women silenced. That is the beast they have awoken.
And this was a guy that
And
was the left extremist.
he was, I don't know if he was an extremist, but he was on the left pretty far. But then he quote unquote woke up, and now he is as far right as you can possibly get.
Okay, I'm
At
going.
least that's the way he's presenting himself.
I want to be critical of this.
Yes,
Um,
this is just one example.
such a hard shift, and a lot of I think social media personalities or content creators are doing that. Some of it I think is convenience because there's going to be a really lucrative grift to come in the following amount of time.
I was actually
Um,
going to talk a little bit about that.
so
The
I
But keep in mind, this was a shift that occurred in the early 2000s with this guy.
so this was earlier then.
Yes, he actually was demonized because a lot of what the stuff that he is spouting back in the early 2000s was extremely right leaning. He like would go on and say stuff like he just said here on TV and during some of his political talks and his shows and stuff, because he was basically similar to Charlie Kirk, where Charlie was more rooted in the Christian values, more in love, and more in trying to start a conversation. This guy was just, no, shut the fuck up, I'm right. Sorry, I'm trying not to cuss here. But and now he is going to fill at least a portion of the void that Charlie Kirk has left behind, and he is far more radical
Well, it's just
than
like
Charlie
what we
Kirk ever could
saw
be.
whenever we took out Iraq. There's a power vacuum. You take out Charlie Kirk, there's a
And
power vacuum.
yeah, so he obviously stepped in, and he is going to make money off of this. So I do believe that he is using this as an opportunity to grift and get some money. But at the same time, considering how he used to be and everything he did in the past, I do think he is trying to step into the light in order to help shift the narrative more to the right. I do think he is
So you
doing it in his view in good sense, but there is absolutely money to be made here.
well, I mean,
So,
I think it's fine to recognize. I mean, it's just like the stock market or things change. You see where it's kind of going, and you would say, yeah, it makes sense that religious or religion, all that stuff like might be a lucrative thing, or being on the right and being part of those conversations is where you would make the money. So from a business
yes.
sense, I understand. So you think just based on, I mean, the earlier swap in the early 2000s gives me a lot more comfort. If it was like, let's say, I don't know, Cenk Uygur or Anna Kasparian, maybe.
Oh yeah,
I
that's
I'm not sold because I've seen the back and forth. I've seen when it's convenient. Um,
yeah. Well, yeah, there's money to be made, and that those two are just following the money, in my opinion. So, I've I'd never much cared for them. Like the friend of mine that I referenced before, I don't know if he still is, big fans of the Young Turks. And when he and I were living in California, as roommates, working at the same job, we would listen to the Young Turks going into work
mm-hmm,
every day.
mm-hmm.
And I am sitting here just kind of like shaking my head a lot. So a lot of stuff they were saying, some of the stuff they said made sense. I can't give you examples; it's been too long. But um, yeah, it's to me they're grifting. But anyways,
Well, I mean, in order for a lie to be believed, they said it needs to be 90% true. So that's that
mm,
inching across. That's where the pay attention to the little details. So, okay, thank you for kind of helping me understand Milo a little bit better. I think I want to pay attention to kind of see how this develops and see where he
yeah,
pops up. Because if he had that big of a return message, it's going to get interesting.
he. I've been seeing a lot of stuff. I don't follow him. He still comes across my timeline quite a bit because I stop and read what he's saying because and then X does its algorithm thing. But he is a voice of what he says out loud what people are thinking, quite honestly.
Okay.
Not necessarily what I'm thinking. There are some things he says that I think, don't necessarily believe, but, can kind of see from the different perspectives because I don't really look from my own perspective anymore. It's kind of weird. But he is a voice that a lot of people, like I did, I'm repeating myself here, but it's going to become more prominent. He is going to empower more people who think like him to become more vocal. And so everything that the left fears from the right is going to become more prominent. And the left has built their enemy. Um,
Yeah.
and as I've been saying in the past, is once you have demonized someone so long, they will become what you say they are because they don't really have a choice.
What if they were just used to create the framework and this was the real intention?
That is a theory that I have thought about extensively about, and it's one of it's it that, but I always have to go back to the I have no proof, I have no, um,
That's
I
fine.
don't
I'm still
believe
I'm still going
anything.
to ask the
So
question.
yeah,
If you can't give me an answer, then it's still an open question.
oh, I know. I'm just saying in general that I have thought about this and I don't have an answer.
Right.
It's the possibility is absolutely non-zero. And it's probably a very high probability in, I'm not going to say greater than 50% or greater than 25% or anything else like that, but significantly higher probability than a lot of other things if you were to equate them all into like 100% or something like that.
Fair
If you
enough.
combine everything to 100%, it probably has a fairly high probability in relation to others. So I don't know. The current dynamic that's going on right now, I mean, we could start diving down into other things with that. But anyway, I wanted to highlight that Milo is going to more than likely become a force, at least in the near term. The moderate term, I think he will kind of pull back or be pulled back a little bit. Long term, I don't have a clue.
All right.
But in
Well,
the short term, he's very inflammatory. He is going to influence a lot of people on the right to become what the left fears. So I say a lot. I don't. I'm not saying most. I'm not saying
well, we'll just have
a
to.
certain percentage.
That's
But
speculation. Like I'm not going
yeah,
into the probabilities of speculation, but
yeah, it's pure
um,
speculation.
so I want
But
to get into the actual
yeah,
content of what he's talking about. Enough about him. Let's say his message. Prioritizing motherhood, and he's the one that wants women to be silenced. He's making the bold claim. Like, is this saying like? I'm assuming this would be tied towards not wanting women to vote. That'd be repealing the was
yes,
14th. What
yes. He has come out saying that the 14th Amendment is one of the worst things this country's ever done
How do you feel about
in
that?
the past. I
I know I'm putting you on the spot.
That's why I'm trying to measure my response in a way that, I mean, they should. I'm looking at it from the arguments, from the different sides of the arguments, and I'm calculating and processing that. I'm just trying to think about because both sides of the argument have valid points.
Okay.
Um,
So
Speaking
while you're
logically only,
okay.
my wife, I'm going to have to talk through it a little bit because I'm not 100% sure.
No, that's fine. I
The
just wanted to say for the people that are listening, like, try to answer the question yourself too while he goes through this. So the
Gotcha.
question is, should we repeal or should the 14th Amendment be repealed for women's right to vote?
Well, I have to borrow Andrew Wilson's narrative here a bit. And for those who don't know, he's the guy who does the Crucible podcast where he, debates people, and he's just an absolute, force to be reckoned with. And he uses nothing but logic unless the other person becomes emotional, then he will attack them emotionally. But only when they try to use emotional arguments. But anyways, he has an argument about the 14th Amendment where it is proven without the shadow of a doubt that women do a lot of groupthink. They go along with the crowd. And he has proven it multiple times, whether it be on the Crucible or when he joins whatever podcast with Brian, I forget, I don't know his last name, and or the whatever podcast is where they have on the OnlyFans models and stuff like that.
Yeah, the girls and
But
they kind of talk about relationships and all of that stuff sitting
mhm,
around the table. Yeah.
yeah, but so instead of women voting in what is in their best interest, they vote in whatever the rest of the crowd says to vote. Very feminist looking perspective on that from the women's perspective side. So for that reason, I don't think that I don't know, I'm not. I'm just going to straight say it that the 14th Amendment does not need to be repealed, but the argument is a valid one that women are not actually voting for their best interests. And even further to state that men in general didn't have the same right to vote as men do now until I think it was like the 40s or the 50s, because it used to be only landowners
Yep.
got the right to vote.
Yep.
So the fact that women, women's suffrage, didn't technically happen until after the true men's suffrage, where all men were able to vote, was within one generation. So the paradigm of the 14th Amendment is not correctly understood by the greater population of this country. So while I do think that every person, adult in this country, should have a say in how they vote, they also need to be doing their due diligence because the voting is a responsibility. If you wish to be a part of society, in the truest sense, you have the responsibility to know and act according to your own wishes as well as the greater, the greater good of the country.
Well, but you bring up the
And a lot of
responsibility.
women, go ahead.
You bring up the responsibility to know. And I
Yes,
think that's part of the problem because
yes,
there's obviously lies being repeatedly told on
mhm,
one side and told sometimes on the other side too.
yeah. Well, both sides, absolutely. Just the frequency is up for debate. But go ahead.
So the system, I mean, with just that single point, the problem is bigger than just women or anyone being able to vote.
Oh, absolutely.
So this is just a distraction.
I can see that perspective. Yes.
Now, I think I agree with you that everyone should have the right to vote, but I've always thought that even myself, I feel like we should have or be able to, there should be some kind of actual test to take to say, hey, like, you understand the Constitution's original framework, and some kind of, hey, I truly understand my country. Um, like,
Well, I
like,
would take that a step further, honestly.
okay.
You can't graduate from high school. You have to have a high school diploma in order to vote first. And
Um,
if, hold on, listen, let me
mhm,
finish.
mhm.
Um, or a GED or some kind of basic education degree. I'll say it that way. And within those degree programs and requirements is an understanding and a national test of the laws, of the basic laws and the understanding of the Constitution. I
Basic
think
framework of the
that,
judicial system would be nice.
yes, just
Basic accounting.
yes, all of that. And if you pass that test, you should be able to vote. That's the way I see it. And oh, at least from that paradigm, from what you were describing of the
Sure,
test.
sure.
But so instead of having to take a test to vote, you just have to. I mean, assuming you know what I just said, then you just have to have a sorry, a high school diploma and a high school um, certification. I don't know. I'm repeating myself here. In order to vote, I think that would be a good thing. It would limit those from making decisions for the greater good of the country if they are not even capable of being able to complete the most basic criteria in life of graduating high school or getting a GED. I know there are circumstances that would prevent that, and I do think that there are, always going to be exceptions to the rule, and there should be a process to handle those exceptions. But
Mm.
if you don't have an understanding of the very foundations, then you do not have a right, in my opinion, to make decisions about how I will live my life.
I mean,
Period.
I think that also kind of trickles down because, like, let's just take the titles of bills, for example, that are often presented, but they do the
And
exact
misleading. Yep.
opposite of what the title says. It's like, oh, well, people vote by title. Oh,
Yep.
the Save America Act. I'm gonna save America. Yeah, that sounds great. But what it does is it
Yep.
erodes your rights.
Yep.
Um, but the problem is that that comes from the politicians.
Hmm.
We don't get factually presented information or ideas from bills, even though I think they put something in place that requires them to, like, it be relevant. You know, it can't just be like left in left field in the moon, right?
Yeah. You can't talk about, or you can't put some kind of stipulation just for broad, whatever strokes here. Legislation that's specifically about dogs and owning dogs. You can't throw in cat provisions,
Right, 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 right.
type of thing. So, however, there is an exception to that rule, and that's with the provision of money within the government. They can throw ridiculous amounts of just completely off base, out of the woodwork type stuff in appropriation bills. So I don't know the full way of how that works, but it's just from my personal observations that there's so many appropriation bills out there that just will fund, or if they want to get rid of a law, they just defund it, which I don't think is correct. I think that there should be, if there is a law on the books that creates some kind of program or takes out of a program, it needs to be funded. And then if they don't want that program anymore, it needs to be removed completely, not just money taken away from it. But that is how the left and the right sometimes, especially when they're the ones who hold the majority of the power, will basically manipulate behind the scenes what's being enforced and what is not. So anyway, but
Interesting.
that's kind of side topic there.
Yeah. Okay. So
So
yeah,
yeah, I don't know the full process. I mean, I couldn't do a full episode on something like that, but it is
you can't do a
something that is
full
done
episode yet, but
yet. Yeah.
that is a really good question. So I'm going to pose the question to anybody who watches this video. Do you think the 16th should be repealed? Do you think women should
14th.
14th Amendment should be repealed? Do you think women should be able to vote? Let us know in the comments. Like, what is that? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Can't go wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, guys,
Moving on.
I'd hate to break it to you guys, but for some earthly reason, what most would assume at the moment, the left, the attacks, the threats, they just don't stop. Now, it has been 10 days since the assassination. Um, and there's the story, even just of the event itself, has now spun to 3 or 4 different possible narratives. But
Oh yeah.
last night this was a post from Eric Doherty on X, and there was a bomb threat at the home of RFK. I did see something shortly after, like, and they said they at that time they didn't find anything on the premises, so it may have just been a threat. But you have to take threats very seriously. I mean, I remember back in middle school, somebody called the school, and well, the kids stood outside for the entire afternoon because they had to like sweep the school.
I've
Um,
had 4 of those at least I can recall off the top of my head at my
yeah.
school. So yeah.
Um, this is an issue, and I know people. There's the left. We're just gonna call them the left right now, or the people. I'm trying to keep them human. I understand everybody wants to call them names, and I feel the names and all of that stuff, and I acknowledge where people come from, but I'm still going to treat them as intellectual human beings so we don't get caught off guard, right?
Hmm.
The sleeping bear will still wake up and bite you. But
Yeah.
if there's no off road and they continue to show that there is no off road and it just keeps escalating, now granted, just the changing the classification or designating Antifa a terrorist organization, I think it's long overdue. Um, that's just a personal opinion based on kind of how I've seen all the pieces come together and develop over the years. Um, or I can just look at my own eyes whenever they're attacking people that are actually there trying to protest, like peacefully, actual peacefully.
Hmm.
And maybe it's that that one CNN clip where they're standing in front of a burning building and it's a mostly peaceful protest. It's
Yeah.
fascinating, guys, absolutely fascinating. And if like I'm not joking, this shit's real. Like at this point, if you're listening to this podcast, you know some shit's real, or maybe you're just checking in
Yeah.
for the first time. But where where do you see stuff like this going, Brewer? I want to give you an opportunity to kind of like see what pops up for this. This seemed like it would be good for you.
Well, you know my past. I'm not going to divulge too much of that, at least
You
now,
used to do stuff.
especially
You
with
used to
everything
do
going on.
stuff and things. Got it.
I used to do things that would take this kind of information and, pass it along. I'll say it that way. And within that, as you analyze information and whatnot. So those who know will infer appropriate things and we'll go on from there.
Sure.
So
So go ahead.
the problem is the fact that it's escalating. At least the reporting on it is escalating.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that this kind of thing that maybe not quite as high profile as a secretary within the United States government in the cabinet of the president, but this kind of thing was happening. Don't want to say all the time, but it sure as hell feels like it. But it wasn't being reported because of the left wing bias of the media, and it is very likely coming from the left. This kind of thing happening. So,
Is it though? I see. See,
um,
here's my thought. Right,
okay,
the people doing these things are just kind of like the feelers for the arm.
I see what you're saying.
I think the change that he's made recently to the global or universal vaccine schedule that
Hmm.
California is saying they're gonna not listen to and require it or do their own.
Yeah.
Um, I think big pharma has motivation to do something like this. But I also
I
think
was going to touch on
I
that.
also think that they would use the same kind of uh, tactics, or pretty much the same people to do this.
Yeah, it's. I was gonna talk about the cloak and dagger stuff.
Okay, go ahead.
So, um, but you're absolutely right. I'll just kind of move into that. The So much has been happening that is being attributed to the left, while it is highly probable that a lot of the violence has been from individuals on the left, the small quote unquote cells of Antifa or whatever acting. They have been absolutely funded by, in my opinion, Soros and his ilk. But they have also been using it as a guise to push and enact fear on certain individuals and industries in other various ways. I'm trying to be as very vague here as possible. And intimidate. It's all intimidation. So those who to kind of talk about it is the pharmaceutical industry specifically. The amount of intimidation that doctors go through of all different facets, different specialties, as well as just general health. They are constantly intimidated not only by the pharmaceutical industry but the insurance industry, medical insurance specifically, and the amount of administrative BS that is in the industry, specifically the insurance industry right now, um, has caused such a massive amount of damage, not to only to individuals who are having health problems, but to the global financial system, is maybe more specifically the U.S. financial system, that these kind of actions are going to dramatically increase over the next month or two, if not within the next few weeks. Because the status quo of the pharmaceutical industry, insurance industries, is under direct threat from RFK here.
Mm-hmm.
And he is succeeding because he has the most powerful man in the world, President Donald Trump, agreeing with everything that is happening, at least on the surface. I mean, I'm sure there's been some because
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
RFK is, the different political stances that they now have. Although, I mean, there's an argument to be said that Trump is a '90s Democrat, but
that's true
it
of
is
that's
going
true of
to
a lot of
increase.
modern Democrats.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of
Well,
liberals of 20 years ago are actually Republicans now,
yeah. I mean,
at least in spirit.
well, I mean, you could start talking about even some of the stuff that Hillary Clinton was talking about 20 years ago is directly the exact same thing Trump talks about now. It's yeah, but anyways, that's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah, but
But specifically talking just a bit more of this, is I do feel like I should probably speak to this a bit more. Um, there's going to be an escalation. The problem is that the moment that someone like RFK at his level, or within one or two stepping stones of within the hierarchy of the government, if one of them gets taken out, this in the same manner or similar manner that Charlie Kirk was, the unholy hell that is going to be rained down, it will actually be a 10th crusade.
I think your
Be-
bubble needs to be bigger.
so so well, what do you mean?
I think the importance bubble. I think there would sooner be stuff happen if it was a prominent normal person like Tucker Carlson versus RFK. And I'm not putting them on any kind of equivalence. I'm just saying one's a politician, one's a citizen, one's a civilian.
Well,
I don't condone either. I just think one I think you should instead of just the politician, we should include prominent
well,
citizen
there's
figures
two
too.
different well, you're the way you're saying it, you are equating. I know it's not your intention, but let
Okay,
me explain.
sure.
Um, I'm talking about the response from Donald Trump. If one of his cabinet members gets taken out, all bets are off.
Oh yeah.
If Tucker Carlson gets taken out, the civilian population, all bets are off. There is a significant difference between the two because you have one that has the full command of the most powerful army in the world, or military in the world, and then you have the sleeping giant that is the armed, highly armed Republican, like right wing Republican Party, conservative.
Yeah.
So there are two different beasts, and both of them are. I mean, if you want to say total power, relatively equal. It's just the military has much bigger guns, but the population just has many more guns.
I think we're going to eventually
So
have to talk about what it might actually look like. Because
uh, what
an,
this
an, an,
define it?
an internal conflict of
Oh
large
yeah.
proportion.
So
I'm
I mean,
avoiding the words.
hmm probably a good idea right now, just for algorithm's
What, saying
sake.
it?
Everything else,
Okay, so I'm talking about Civil War. Um,
yeah,
I think that we need to honestly just say it's not impossible. I think that there's continued escalation increases the odds. If there's another what you would probably call flashpoint event or another large scale public thing, it's definitely going that direction. And then I think that kind of unlocks the excuse for authoritarian control.
yes,
But at the same time, what other options do you have other than getting killed or handling it yourself? So I don't.
it's either authoritarian or anarchy is kind of what is one of the scenarios that I have thought of. So,
I guess
which is worse?
the most scarified, the most, I don't know, like both,
Yeah.
because once you go towards the extreme of either, you start running into the problems.
Hmm.
So that's why, ebb and flow. All right. Well, I wanted to, since I wanted, we built this up and I wanted to directly connect this with the next one, which is something that happens tomorrow. Um,
Oh,
Another post from
yeah.
Eric Darty. Um, so there is a, yeah, I saw this right before I started putting the show together this morning. There was an armed man reported from Kevin or Eric Darty. Um, an armed man was detained at the Charlie Kirk Memorial Site, State Farm Stadium, set for tomorrow, who falsely pretended to be law enforcement, which is, I'm pretty sure, a crime. Glad they caught him. Security must be ready to turn away all potential threats. Um,
Well, they've actually been designated a level one security, national security,
right.
meaning that they are deploying literally everything, every protocol, even that it would be done for President Trump, is being
Oh, you mean like
utilized.
Butler, PA?
Uh, that's sorry. The I have crosswired. You're talking about the attempted assassination of Trump.
Yeah, I'm talking Trump getting shot in the air.
Okay, I for some reason that my
That's fine.
memory
That's fine.
skipped a
Yeah,
beat there.
that's what I'm
There's a
referencing.
diff that well that wasn't a level one. I don't know what level it was considered, but a presidential candidate does not get a level one typically. Does
Okay.
not get a level one. What I'm talking about now as active President Trump, Charlie Kirk memorial or funeral is getting the same level, if not greater, than because of the increased threat.
No, it's not
So
just that. It's the amount of high profile people that will be in one location.
yeah, so there's gonna be a I don't know.
I'm concerned. This was
I don't
my
know.
concern. I wanted to address this because if there was an opportunity to do things, this would be a really good opportunity to get your headlines and to do an attack. If I
Yeah,
was if you had the means and you were going to try to make a statement, even at this range, you don't have to attack people at the event. You just have to attack people on their way or leaving. That's my concern.
yeah. I actually have a parallel concern.
Okay.
It's more of the protesters, the agitators that are going to be outside and doing things. I do think a riot. I mean, I hope I'm wrong, and I will always say that I'm glad I'm wrong. But there is going to be a full scale riot. that is going to occur
There should
outside
be
the venue.
zero tolerance for any kind of bullshit. If you want to get out there and peacefully protest, that's fine. But
Yes,
I
that's
would block off so many things in every direction. Like you aren't getting close to that. You don't
yes,
deserve
that
it.
but that's the thing. This is prime
Yep,
to make a statement to have people come in. I would not be surprised if there was a death count tomorrow.
bro. Falsely pretended to be
So
law enforcement.
yes, that's what I mean. There are going to be. That's why I think I almost want to say beyond a shadow of a doubt, but there is still a shadow in there. That there is going to be deaths tomorrow at this in maybe not necessarily in the funeral, but around the venue or um,
Let's hope for the best.
within the city.
Let's hope that they're hot air, but let's prepare
Yeah,
for the potential. Like I mean, I if I was
yeah.
going to this event, and I wish I could, um, prepare, question everything, find the people that you know. If something seems funny, like just be on guard, like
I
protect
I
yourself.
that's I'm very certain. Maybe I'm looking from my own perspective here, but I'm very certain that people are going to be on guard, especially with everything that's going on. And the level of security that they are implementing is going to be massive.
It
And
should be a deterrent enough to stop them, right?
no, I mean, it should be, but will it? Probably not. I have, because of the the temperature has been raised by both sides. The validity and like, well, I'm not even going to go down that path right now. Whether one side's turning the temperature is valid versus another, it's just the fact that the temperature is so high right now. Spontaneous combustion of a powder keg is very, very, very possible. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not going to begin to speculate, but I think, well, I say I'm not going to speculate, and then I start speculating.
Uh-huh.
But the most likely, most probable event is going to happen outside, and a riot is going to start, and people are going to take that as an excuse to begin something. So I'll just keep it at that.
I
But
whenever you say people, I think that you have to say like which side, man, because like conservatives usually only respond with or I it
it's,
ideally
that's
respond with an
kind of what
appropriate
I'm
amount of
insinuating.
equal force. But
The swords have been unsheathed. Who's going to strike first?
I just think
I mean, it's obvious that the left is going to be the one, the instigator. More than likely, the instigator, or at least someone portraying themselves as the left, is going to be an instigator. Someone is going to do something stupid. They're going to try to make a name for themselves and um, do something stupid. I hope I'm wrong, but I do think that someone is going to die tomorrow,
that's
directly related to that event. I hope I am wrong.
I think everyone hopes you're wrong. I mean, I think everyone, even the government's responding with that level of security. I think because
Mm,
if you don't see it, you aren't aware of the situation. It's not that you're stupid or anything. You just might not be aware. Because like I can go to my neighbor right now, completely oblivious to what's going on in the world right now.
yeah,
No
well,
clue.
that has to do with like the friend of mine who I had that discussion with that's on the left. He was completely unaware the left's response or the amount of unhinged videos that were cheering on his death.
Yeah.
Like he's like, I don't know anything about that. What are you talking about? So then I sent him a message or sent him a video, and he's so there are people out there who are oblivious to this because they're not perpetually online, which I kind of envy those people in a way. But at the same time, I definitely want to know what's coming. So it's
Yeah.
just one of those things that
Well, I think that's
I
part of the
can't do.
challenge that we face just in general as a country. That like that's the community that I think is lost. Like I need to be spending time at least with my neighbors and sharing them with what I know or my
Yeah.
friends. Like I need to be having those conversations. So if you want to do something that can help, I would highly recommend people to maybe just think about engaging in the conversations, get it wrong, say, hey, let's find this out. Like, hey, I found this video. What do you think about it? And you don't have to fight with the other person. You can just say, ask them what they think about it. Hey, how does this make you feel? Where do you come from? You don't have to respond. You don't have to get triggered. You could take what they say and then bring them new information next time. Say, hey, you said this. How do you feel about this?
Yeah, that's how I'm actually approaching the friend of mine. So yeah.
And maybe that'll open some doors. But let us know what you guys think. Definitely pay attention to what is going on tomorrow for the Charlie Kirk Memorial. Hopefully it goes off without a hitch. Thoughts and prayers for all of them. And then, yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's go. So this next one, we have a post from the illustrious and the magnificent, the one and only 9+, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
9+. What's that about?
Because like you can't give her a score of anything less than a 9 because she's just so amazing in every category. Like I've never seen someone pretty. I've never seen someone smarter, and the way she speaks is just so perfect. It really is.
I just threw up my mouth a little bit.
So she's responding to a C-SPAN article, and it's about them having their speech in Congress and what they say and what she said. And it's important to, I want to break out a couple sections of this, and then just in the comments section alone, we can get some justification. She says, quote, "We should be clear about who Charlie Kirk was, a man who believed the Civil Rights Act that granted Black Americans the right to vote was a, quote, mistake, unquote, who after the violent attack on Paul Pelosi claimed that, quote, some amazing patriot out there, unquote, should bail out his assailant, and accused Jews of controlling, quote, not just the colleges, it's the nonprofits, it's the movies, it's Hollywood, it's all of it, end quote. His rhetoric and beliefs were ignorant and sought to disenfranchise millions of Americans, far from, quote, working tirelessly to promote unity, unquote, as asserted by the majority in this resolution. We can condemn this horrific assassination and the scourge of political violence without uplifting these ideas." So that was her saying that she wasn't going to condemn the assassination, or she did. But essentially what she did was everyone's calling her out for lying or defaming Charlie about what he said. And if you guys are able to see the screen, look at this man talked for a living, hours upon hours of people that disagreed with him. And there is a single word quote used to justify her response. So let's start there. Charlie Kirk was a man who believed that the Civil Rights Act was granted by Black Americans to the right to vote was a mistake. Did he actually say that? Wow. Guys, this is someone that wants to be your president. Believe it or not.
I'm going to talk about that specifically here in a minute. Sorry, I had my hand covering my mouth.
That's okay.
My hand,
you might want to get a paper bag. But there was a very kind person, Jeffrey Mead.
Oh, this guy.
Yeah. We're going to listen to just kind of how, I think he talks a little bit about it, and then he goes into what actually Charlie said. And then you can see Charlie Kirk said the Civil Rights Act was a mistake as the quote. But this guy, the first guy prefaces it, and he's doing a reaction of this guy doing the video. So this is a curated thought at this point.
Okay, so I've had a whole lot of white folks commenting on my last video asking for proof that Charlie Kirk was an outspoken racist. And there are many horrible quotes to choose from, but there's one that I haven't seen get quite as much attention that I believe is head and shoulders worse than all the rest. In December of 2023, Kirk said, quote, "We made a huge mistake when we passed the Civil Rights Act in the 1960s, end quote."
See how he said, end quote? Charlie Kirk is explaining.
So look what happened there. It went from the whole sentence down to a single word in her post.
Yep.
Right?
His reasoning behind this multiple times. And these people have to leave out the context in order to paint the picture they want to paint. Listen to Charlie Kirk talking about this.
You said the Civil Rights Act was a mistake. What did you mean by that?
Yeah, so the parts of the Civil Rights Act were great, but the way it's now being implemented to force men in female bathrooms to push forward of the trans agenda, the intent of the Civil Rights Act is way beyond what it was originally authored for.
But the intent specifically originally was to
Well, that's
desegregate-
interesting. So the intent and the law are two different things. So the intent was noble, which was to say that no American can be not allowed into a place of business based on the color of their skin or their ethnic heritage. Totally agreement with that.
Did we see what he just said?
Are two different things. So the intent was noble, which was to say that no American can be not allowed into a place of business based on the color of their skin or their ethnic heritage. Totally agreement with that.
So he said he's totally in agreement with that. He also said it was noble. Let's actually look at the definition of noble real quick.
So I think he captured the part that I wanted to kind of pick at on that one.
Yeah. Well, just real quick. This is something I thought about, and this is the exact argument I was going to use with a debate the friend of mine, and later this year when I go to visit him. And it's interesting that, of course, you bring it up in the exact manner in which I was going to. So I may just play him this podcast. But it's everything. This is what the left does. And I'm not speaking from the right. I'm speaking this, whatever. This is what the left does. They will take as little as they can and then use the exact definition of a word instead of the context of the whole situation in order to push a narrative, and the left eats it up every time. It's interesting that from a belief system that is largely centered around emotions, they try to use the absolute logical definition of a word in their arguments. It's just the dichotomy here, at least in the way that I see it, is just
It's wordplay.
it's just it's hard for me to comprehend that they think that that is a valid way to argue.
I don't think they do. I think it's doing it as a tactic.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But it's that. Well, I guess I'm looking at it from the framework of people who believe it versus the tactic that's being employed. Those who consume the rhetoric, that they think it is valid. It's difficult for me to comprehend. I see it for what it is, and maybe that's the reason why it's so difficult for me to comprehend, that they can actually believe it and run with it. Or again, it's groupthink and they don't want to go against the crowd because they don't want to be ostracized. I mean, that's another perspective with it too. But anyways, go ahead.
I mean, the perks on that side, they look good up front. I don't know how they flush out in the long run, but the perks, at least for the last couple of years, and getting along with the agenda, you could have made a lot of money. Unfortunately, I'm not a very colorful person. I wear black all the time, so. But yeah, this is someone who I believe is eyeing a run for president, according to a couple things that I've seen this week.
She's going to fail. 100%, without a shadow of a doubt in my mind. I mean, and I mean this for like one of the few times I will say it, she's not going to become the president, period. And it's not just because of a difference in ideals or anything else like that. It's because of taking this back to the whole Milo situation and everything I just said, is that he is saying out loud what a lot of people are thinking. And just for the same reason that Hillary Clinton was not elected, for the same reason that Kamala Harris was not elected, not the reason, but a reason, is that there are an overwhelming amount of men and women who don't want to see a woman in office, on the office of the presidency specifically.
If we take it just from a national view, right? Like a cultural view, and we include, like, we're talking like international level, world politics level. Do you think that there would be any countries? Okay, I don't want to say any.
Would take the United States seriously if
That would take
AOC
her
was actually
seriously in any
elected?
capacity.
No, not a fucking chance. I mean, just to be blunt as all hell here, there's no one's going to take this woman seriously. And I'm not saying it because the fact that she's a woman is because she's AOC. I'm just saying from the whole women thing that she won't be elected because she's a woman, because there's too many people in this country who see that as a sole reason why not to vote for her.
Interesting.
I
And
don't think
do you
she'll
think
get
that
past the
exists
primaries.
on both sides of the political
Oh,
aisle?
absolutely. Oh,
Really?
absolutely exists on both sides. Much less on the left, but there are many, like, I'm not going to say a majority, or I'm not even going to begin to speculate the size of it. There are a significant amount of individuals who will not vote for AOC because she's just a woman. Just as on the left hand side, they will vote for anyone who there's people, those single issue voters is kind of how I see it.
Yeah, and those are the
And
single issue voters,
so
and that's where those are the ones that are gonna call you, oh, well, you're a misogynist or whatever. You
yeah,
can't see that. Well, no, I want everyone to stay alive, and I don't want our
yeah,
country to get taken over in a couple of years with really bad deals or someone just running their mouth.
exactly. Like, I mean, if I don't care if you're a male or female, if you're rooted in logical thinking and think that, and what you are claiming that you will do and your ideals align as mostly with mine, I will vote for that woman over a man.
Yeah, if
But
if, if your beliefs match what you present, I
yeah,
totally agree with you.
yeah, I mean, that's my, and just stating that out there. So, someone does eventually clip me out of context, I have that
It's
to
gonna
say.
happen. Don't worry about it.
So,
Just deal with it when it
oh, I know.
happens. Just call them stupid and move on.
Exactly. I just,
Yeah, I get it. Well, I mean, there's not much we can do about that. But let's go ahead and jump into the next topic. You wanted to, I think this kind of ties close because it's in the same kind of realm of the leftist politics, or at least it seems like that's where it would be. I don't know for sure because I don't know the names involved of who's involved in this scandal. You you brought this up. Do you want to take it?
Yeah, sure. Essentially, what has happened is a charter school in California has been found to have scammed $180 million. And it was a charter school that was specifically created for uh, refugees and immigrants and illegal immigrants. And
Oh no.
basically, what they did was fabricate 100% of their students. And everyone that was on the payroll was friends, but mostly family of the board members. So when the audit came around and they were looking for proof of everything they said that they were doing, there's nothing to be found. There was no proof. I do want to make one caveat. I'm not sure it was 100%, but it was kind of insinuated that there were no students. So
Holy cow.
what is happening is this is a prime example of one of the reasons why the left wants so much of everything that is happening to continue to happen, because is that these kind of people are grifting as all hell off of it. There are people who are making billions, millions to billions of dollars by through the taxpayer, by defrauding the taxpayer.
So wait.
And
While people are going out and working their jobs and actually participating in society, politicians or people in California are getting away with robbing you, stealing
yes,
from you by creating a fake school with fake students.
yes.
Are they going to walk? I mean, it is California. I mean, they let out murderers, so I mean, these guys will probably walk free.
Well, here's the thing is what like supposedly all the board members resigned like instantaneously once this came to light. Once they realized they were audited, they immediately resigned. So there is no board for this. Like this place effectively just it only exists on paper now. Completely only on paper. I don't even think that there is actual grounds or a building for this. I don't know the full extent of it. I just
Man, well,
read this story and was just
if it,
mind blown.
if it's that easy,
So,
like, how many more situations like that do we have? I saw something pop up in, I think it was Massachusetts this morning. There's something going on up there. There's something happened that up in Minnesota with, it might have been an old case regarding Ilhan Omar and some kind of like property scheme.
yeah, I read something about that. I don't remember the full details of it. I do
Hmm.
recall what you're talking about,
Definitely worth looking into.
but it's
Um,
just this. I just want to basically talk about this to highlight that I mean, I'm sure there are examples of this on the right, but of course, everything on the left's going to come out more predominantly. But it's interesting that the people who are in charge of the biggest corporations in this country are all on the left, with the exception of Elon Musk. He actually used to be a leftist. But, so let's kind of put that in perspective.
I think he used to be a liberal.
Yes, okay, liberal versus leftist. I do need to demarry or divorce those kind of concepts in my mind now, because
Decouple.
even my friend was saying the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, the leftists, not liberals, but the leftists are in control of the largest corporations. They are the richest people in the country on, average. But yet they are the ones who are, pushing all of these narratives and everything else. And this is just an example of the grifts and everything else they do to just put more money in their pockets. And it's mind-boggling to me that the leftist framework has been able to indoctrinate and convince so many people that the bad guys, the rich people, are bad guys, but they don't realize that people who are in control of their movement are the rich people. It's just like this rose-colored, you know, glasses that these guys are wearing, that these leftists are wearing, thinking that everything on the right is the problem, when in reality, the ones in control of their movement are the ones that they are actually against. And this just as proof, not proof, maybe evidence that the whole thing is a grift in order to rob them blind.
Well, I mean, there's always someone
So,
out there that's wanting to take advantage. I think that's where, I mean,
oh,
I try to put faith in people, but when it comes to stuff like this or large scale or business, it's just business, because you can't function
yeah.
like that. I do want to take a second and read through this just for the people that might just be listening.
Okay.
So this is from Project Constitution. It says, breaking $180 million refugee charter school scam. Sacramento school board caught in massive fraud. Entire board resigns. California grifters just pulled off one of the biggest taxpayer frauds in recent memory. And this time it wasn't Hollywood, Newsom, or big tech. It was Sacramento Charter School Board. School boards. Interesting. There's a lot
So
of
it's the school board, not
school
necessarily
board.
the board of this. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, we need to talk about Weingarten soon. Randy Weingarten. So auditors uncovered a $180 million fraud scheme that included fake students, six-figure jobs for friends and family. Well, that's convenient. Luxury travel, fancy, and it was all billed to you, the taxpayer. Get fucked. It didn't say that. It says you, the taxpayer. The school was supposed to teach English to Afghani and Ukrainian refugees. Heartwarming story, right? Except the students never existed. It was a full-blown shell game with ghost classrooms and fake results, just a front to funnel money into private pockets. And the worst part, the entire board just resigned at once after being exposed. This is what happens when equity and refugee aid are used as buzzwords to shut down any questions, while corrupt insiders cash in. California's system is bloated with activist bureaucrats, fake nonprofits, and school boards that treat your tax dollars like monopoly money. I kind of vibe with that paragraph.
Mm-hmm.
It makes some. It seems well worded, and I don't think that you'd have to look very hard to see examples of what they present there. Meanwhile, real schools crumble, roads rot, and living costs skyrocket. But hey, somebody's cousin just got a six-figure salary to manage a refugee ESL program that never existed. This isn't progress; it's a racket, and they're not even hiding it anymore.
Yep.
Is this guy's video any good? Did you listen to this video?
No, he basically goes over it and just kind of talks about it. I mean, I've seen a lot of stuff from this guy. You don't need to play the video.
Okay. Well, if you guys want to
Everything you
watch
just
the
said there is
video,
essentially that's in it.
yeah. Well, if anyone wants to watch the video, we'll make sure the link is in the description so you can go check out this stuff for yourself.
But I mean, one of the things I did want to kind of talk about, since you did go through and talk about it, the wording, the words as weapons, and it's just kind of, I've definitely become extremely sensitive to any time they try to use any kind of words that for emotional blackmail. Like I just immediately write them off at this point. Not every time, but it sure does feel like every time right now because the buzzwords to shut down any questions. Yeah, the moment those buzzwords are said, I immediately assume they're up to no good. I can't not see that anymore.
Do you, okay, so in what are you referencing when you just see it and you shut it down? So you're just like, you kind of ignore it for valid information? Or are you saying whenever you're
I
engaging with people?
I both
Okay.
kind of. I don't really say that I don't chark it. I don't ignore it. I just no longer trust what the information that they are presenting is actually what is actually true.
Right.
Um,
It
and
sends up a
I
red
look at it
flag
through
for extra
that lens.
scrutiny, maybe? Is that
Yes,
okay?
that's a better way of putting it. I scrutinize it more. Yeah, that's a good, much better way to say it.
That's fair.
And if I haven't really gotten into any discussions with people about this kind of thing, but the moment they start throwing around those buzzwords, I immediately am just going to have to basically start pushing back and make them, speak to it more and basically cause them to defend some of these actions. So, but yeah, I'm so like you're sick of a lot of things. I'm sick of buzzwords. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of emotional blackmail. You try to emotional blackmail me, you not gonna have a good time.
Have
So,
Have you seen One Punch Man?
of course,
Do you remember, I think it's the first season, whenever Genos is getting all of his fan mail, but there's one letter to Saitama?
I don't recall that specific
Okay, well, there's a scene
scene.
where there's a scene where Genos is like opening his fan letters, and it's like people saying, "Oh, you're amazing," and then he's like, "Oh, master, there's this letter here for you," but it's someone like being mean to him and making fun of him, and like because of what happened recently, and like it appeared that he was, oh, sorry, best to put it. It appeared like he was grifting, right?
Yeah,
So the letter was like saying, "Oh, like you're a loser," and putting him down. And Genos was like, "Do you want me to go do something about this?" And he's just like, "Oh, well, this is, this person's got some free time," and just completely dismisses it.
yeah,
I think that's maybe a really good example to handle people that are coming from the most toxic place. Just be like, "Oh, well, you want to come to me? That's creative. What a fun story that what you've gone with." And I see the same kind of, I think, intellectual value whenever I watch Asmongold engage with people that are testing him or
disingenuous.
disingenuous. Yeah.
Yeah,
You guys, okay, so Asmongold is One Punch Man. You heard that here.
well, the equivalencies you like to do with stuff like that is funny to me.
I mean,
But
they're
I mean, I guess when I say I'm not going to have a good time, it's just that if I'm actually in a debate with someone, and like the whole point of it is having a conversation. Like if someone just comes up to me on the street, yeah, that's the approach I am definitely going to take.
yeah.
And but it's just if I'm in an active debate or with someone that I know, or I'm in some kind of situation where I'm in an active debate, then it's not going to be a good time because the emotional blackmail is not going to work.
Yeah. I,
So
I don't really tolerate that anymore. In fact, it kind of triggers me. Like it makes me angry whenever I see someone lying to my face or trying to blackmail me.
yeah,
Oh, like you wouldn't do
oh
that. Like it's just an immediate F you.
yeah, it's well, some of my recent situations is in my life has definitely taught me the full extent of emotional blackmail. So I am just like you, extremely sensitive and to the emotional blackmail, and just vehemently defend myself.
As you
So
should. As you should.
exactly.
Keeping in the same line, I think the source said Steven Crowder put this information out. There's been a topic of controversy over immigration fraud and marriage fraud for Ilhan Omar for a significant amount of time, who is a representative in the state of Minnesota, who has, we'll say, had a checkered past in terms of questions that may or may not have been fully unanswered. But on screen, this is allegedly what Crowder says is the marriage certificate or the marriage license application, where the alleged brother, maybe it wasn't. See, there's some discrepancy there. It was either a familial brother or just someone that you kind of felt was a brother. And I'm concerned that people are too hinging on that point and focusing less on the immigration aspect of it. Because if you marry this person to gain citizenship status or to bypass the immigration law, and I'm not in any way prepared to speak in detail because this is not my specialty, but this is for all the people saying there's no proof, there's no certificate. This is what Crowder has presented, and we're sharing it here. If you guys have anything to refute it, here's a good opportunity. Go straight to Crowder with it, and let's see what happens. But how do you feel about this whole thing with surrounding Ilhan Omar?
Well, I'm more concerned about the things that she says as a sitting U.S. representative. And if one, she did come into this country under false pretenses and broke immigration law, she needs to suffer the consequences for it. So I'll just lake that out because I don't have enough knowledge and about one, immigration law as a whole, and two, about her exact situation outside of what I've seen online. So I mean, me personally, I she needs to suffer the consequences of her actions, whatever those actions were, to the fullest extent of the law. But I would focus more on the fact that she um, has said that she wants to return to, Somalia, where she's from, that she misses it, and that she thinks that that was, a better country than the United States as a sitting U.S. representative. She was elected by the mostly Somali population, as well as the left-wing ideologues of the area she represents.
Have
So,
have you heard any details? And I'm asking because I've heard something, and I just want to see if you've picked up a similar line of the history of the Somalians that are in Minnesota and how they got there.
are you talking about how Obama pretty much just sent them all to one location?
Yes, I remember that
Yeah,
being kind of like a news story back in the past, but I didn't really think about it then.
yeah.
I mean, that's years ago, right?
That is how she got elected. It's. I mean, the facts all point that direction. It was an Obama scheme to try to, influence and get someone, like, begin the process of trying to take over the various, well, specifically Congress, by just putting tribes of people into one area because they will always vote with the tribe regardless of the situation.
What do the tribes have in
So,
common?
uh, they all come well, they all have a similar heritage, they all have a similar culture and belief.
Yeah,
I say tribes in general, not necessarily just a Somali tribe, but just
right.
kind of like a group of people. I'm defining them as a tribe. So,
I understood it that way. So thank you for
okay,
clarifying for people that didn't. Um,
okay.
I mean, this is something that I
But,
think is just going to take time to sort out. It's you literally have the documents there that are proving it. What is the actual truth? Because the arguments for the person or the brother, the person listed, there's rumors that he was gay. Um,
do they have kids?
I don't think so.
That's
And then she was
okay.
she was married to somebody else as well, and
Yeah, I mean, this brings up. I mean, just looking at from, I understand that she's not necessarily Muslim, but a derivative therein. Maybe, maybe I'm completely off base here. But if you look at it from, yeah, I'm actually here. Let me do a quick Google search.
think a pattern's going to start developing from one of two directions, if not, well, it might be both directions actually. So 3 possibilities. And I hope that I'm
Color
not
is she?
right.
What is her religion? Islam.
Yeah.
So let's put it this way: a Islamic woman has no children. Let me verify that.
Yes, she does.
She does have children?
I don't know. Maybe. Let me know.
Have kids. Yes.
Okay.
Wait, no.
No.
No, hold on. Okay, yes, she does have a child
Okay. There's one child. Good.
that I so far have seen. Yeah. So yeah, she does have children. I just a quick glance at an article puts into question who exactly is the father, but I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. So, but okay, she does, but she's still someone who of Islam has only, from what I could tell, one child. From what I saw, she may have more. I just don't see it. It's just a lot of things aren't adding up about her in my mind. But
The
again,
pieces just
I
don't
don't
fit,
know
right?
exactly.
It's an intuition thing. Like there's enough
Yeah,
questions there, and there's been enough kind of poisoning of the well and mudding of the water. Like it needs a fresh look, I think.
yeah. Well, I
Um,
did see something that her quote unquote refugee status or whatever. She was a part of the government that was ousted in Somalia, but I don't know. I don't know the validity of it, and it's just there are too many things, and supposedly that government was communist. So
it kind of
go-
fits with like the overall picture, I think. I don't think that's the biggest problem we have. Actually, I don't know. That's a pretty big problem because that's a sitting member of Congress.
exactly.
Yeah, that's maybe bigger than I thought. Um,
So it's just it's obvious that she is there to um she's a divisive figure. I think she has planted, quite honestly, by Obama to be a divisive figure, to try to stir up the minority, um, in general, the leftist minority mindset, and because it's very obvious that the right was going to attack her, but and to add to that, it was probably assumed that the left was going to remain in power in the presidency as well as control Congress and the Senate and stuff like that. And so a lot of this stuff that is coming out would have been squashed very fast by a leftist controlled government.
yeah.
So the fact that the right is in control is why a lot of this stuff is coming out, and it's why a lot of stuff is coming out, and just in general around the country, because like the whole auto pen scandal is another good example of that.
Oh yeah, did you
So,
hear? I heard this week that his son may have been helping with those, or helping make decisions
uh,
in his absence while he was getting more sleep. I think that hit mainstream news.
um, I recall seeing something like that, but I don't add any credence to it because I don't have any proof. It's one of those.
I
It's
just
just that whole situation is just kind of there's a lot of ambiguity
Well,
in
I mean,
there,
it's an
and while
indicator for big change, though. That's why I'm curious about it because
I see what you're
the
saying.
blanket pardons with it, like if
Well,
you committed a crime between these dates, you're good. I'm sorry, that's not a pardon.
no, that's not. That's an admission of guilt. But the, I mean, I don't know how that's going to play out. I could see this as political theater right now.
Yep.
I do think that there was the auto pin, the whole that a lot of that situation. It is, I mean, objectively very obvious that something happened in that regard. That Biden was not in control of it. He didn't know half what was going on. I mean, it just from an outwards appearance, it's I just don't know 100% of with like 100% confidence or even high confidence a lot of what happened around the auto pin.
Well, we
They
can't.
the
We
Trumps,
can't. That's way too close to a
yeah,
source of big information. We're not going to.
yeah.
They're not going to let something
So,
like that out.
but I'm just more concerned about if it is true, why haven't they already done something about it? and it's political theater. This is something that I've been saying, is that as it gets closer to the midterms, I think that a lot of the stuff, even surrounding the Epstein list, is all going to come to a head. I think the Trump administration is kind of playing a long-term game with a lot of these controversies because they're waiting until the best possible moment to expose it. So I'm thinking late summer, like around, let's say, August to early September next year. They're just the dam is going to break and everything's going to come out.
Well,
So
we're
that
also going to have a year of
so
Antifa being on a terrorist watch list too, or a terrorist list too.
yes,
So
and I
there's,
think that is actually a distraction away from the other stuff that will come out later. That, as an example, I'm not saying that is the purpose of it, but that is kind of that they're going to be slowly doing all these kind of big media headline type news and decisions and stuff like that because they are trying to they're playing chess and they're moving their pieces very strategically. So all
yeah,
these stuff that's coming out with Kash Patel, he's in on the plan, and after the fact, it's going to come out that this was their plan the whole time. But they're playing their pieces very close to their chest,
it seems
and
likely.
they, yeah.
I can see the picture that you're trying to paint with that.
So I mean, I'm not certain, but it just that's what my intuition is saying.
I would like to man, okay, I need my conspiracy hat. I haven't made it yet. I need my little tinfoil hat. This, I said I wouldn't use conspiracy anymore, but this one legitimately would be out
Mhm.
there.
Yeah,
Um,
I know it's just one I think about from time to time. It's not like I'm
oh no, I was going to take it
saying that
further.
it's fact,
I was going to take
but
it further.
go ahead.
No, I'm not going to. I'm just saying I could.
Oh yeah, I mean I could too as well, but I'm just in general. It's when I say I think, it's I have thought about this. I don't say it's fact, but I say it's a non-zero probability that they are just trying to push everything out as long as possible to maximize the political impact against the left.
I mean, never let a
And
good
if they
tragedy go to
release
waste, right? Who do we learn that from?
yeah, Hillary Clinton.
Thanks, Hillary.
So it's just kind of the tragedy of Charlie Kirk. That's it's not good down that with this specific path. But it's just I think that all the controversies and everything else, it's a high probability that it's all going to come to a head, um, especially with the Epstein list,
It,
probably around the
but I
midterms.
mean, it usually does with the
So
political cycle. Let's go ahead and jump into kind of the last segment that we'll get into today, a little bit longer, but I kind of wanted to start with an example of Donald Trump saying something versus kind of the media saying something and focusing in on kind of some of the words just to help kind of hopefully present how narratives are formed and just with the difference of one word, how that can make a difference. So, this is the rapid response account that says official White House rapid response account holding fake news accountable. It has, I guess that's an actual government account, that check mark. But from Donald Trump, he posted saying, "Today I with should I do his voice? Should I try to do his voice?
yeah, just read it, man.
Oh, fine.
I'll
Today I
do what you want, man.
withdrew the nomination of Eric Siebert as U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia." I don't think I can do it. When I was misinformed that he received the unusually strong support of the two absolutely terrible sleazebag Democrat senators from the great state of Virginia. He didn't quit. I fired him. Next time, let him go in as a Democrat, not a Republican. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again. So, Eric Siebert, I'm guessing based on his tweet, I didn't know anything about this before I saw this tweet. Apparently, he was a Republican that got endorsed by two of the Democrat senators that were kind of, I guess, shady. I'm not focused on necessarily the content in this, but I want to focus on the words of he didn't quit, I fired him. So if you saw this, what would you expect to see in the news for titles?
Well, there's what I would expect to be seen versus what I would expect them to say. So,
Try to give me
um,
both.
okay. Well, one, I would assume that if it was an actual media journalistic outlet with journalistic integrity, they would quote President Trump. However, I think what they are going to say is that he was either resigned or forced to quit or something along those lines.
All right. Let's take a look. So I just did a basic Google search of who he was. All I did was hit Google his name and click news. So there's two layers of this that I want to look at. I want to look at one, the word, two, who's actually saying it and what demographic or what political side they're usually on.
Mhm.
Right? So we can see some inconsistencies here, and then tracking where this narrative goes, you'll know who got control of it. So the New York Times, I'm pretty sure that's a left-leaning outlet.
For the most part, but they are, in my opinion, beginning to move to the right because they're following the money. But continue.
I would certainly hope so. So they said that the U.S. attorney investigating Letitia James, and that was regarding, I think, the mortgage case in New York, right? Maybe?
I think so.
Resigns after Trump seeks to out him. So he resigned, according to the New York Times. The BBC, U.S. prosecutor resigns. CNN, Eric Siebert, under pressure from Trump, tells staff he will be resigning. ABC, Trump poised to fire for resisting. Fox, Trump to force out.
Force out
Yeah.
versus fire, but just from Fox. Okay, that says Fox Media.
Yeah, it's
Kind
Fox
of
News.
grainy on my screen.
It's Fox News.
Fox News. Okay,
Actually,
thank you.
yeah, sorry, I'll do. I need to go through it again. So yeah, U.S. attorney resigns. But he said he fired him. But even Fox says forced out. So that, I guess that gives you the ambiguity of whether he was fired or resigned. So
Yeah,
I
they're taking a middle of the road stance on that. Yeah.
I think that's a central view to take. That's central language, I believe, or at least kind of like
Yes,
moderate language.
that would be a central moderate.
And that would be what I would do. And then I would still probably end up quoting what the president said or tweeted.
Exactly.
Forces out, resigns. Funny thing is I'm pretty sure that I looked this up earlier. The title's changed.
Oh yeah, once it gets certain traction on X nowadays, they are forced to change it. But kind of what happens a lot with this, since I mean this is a slight sidestep here, but the news will change the headlines, but after the initial, how do I say this?
Talking about stealth edits?
Well, yes, but the intent. Basically, they go in and say a inflammatory headline to get people talking, specifically mentioning or focusing on the left side paradigm, because they'll go in, they'll get their talking points, and then they'll switch the headlines over to a more neutral, middle centrist, or going more toward the center type of rhetoric. But the people on the left have already seen the title. They're not going to go back and reread the article. They've already got that propaganda seed planted in them.
Yeah, they got their
and they're
emotional
gonna
fix
run
for
with
the
it.
day too. So
Correct.
I have an idea, right? I don't know if it'll
Oh, boy.
work, right?
Oh boy.
With the news, I think that digital news should be forced to keep the original posting of their work intact and unaltered, and then any other additions could be done on a separate version of it. I don't think that you should be able to go back and stealth edit an article. I think that you should go back and issue a correction with red all over the shit that you messed up. I think that you should have access to the original document. Prove me wrong.
No, I'm just thinking from how you could implement that or how you could force that, because of course, people would, throw First Amendment laws in there or try to incorrectly use the First Amendment in order to say that that's unconstitutional.
How would that be unconstitutional?
It's
They're
not.
they're freely speaking their mind. And then there's
Well,
just
it's freedom of the press. They would, like I said, incorrectly try to say, well, freedom of the press to do it. It's just a blanket thing. That would create contention,
yeah, but
which is fine. I
you're
don't care.
allowed to. I think that we have to do something like that
I
because
agree.
that's yeah,
I completely agree with you,
yeah.
man. If you hit the button to publish and it is seen by one person outside of your organization as a published narrative, it should not be able to be altered. And if you do alter it, you have to keep the original document, like you said, and maybe even have like a strikeout on there with the text so they can
Yep.
see what was changed.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep. We need some brave politicians to take on the Democrat media machine, even though I'm pretty sure all of you are paid for. The only way that I would believe it is if I went and did it myself, but I don't want to.
Yeah, well, there are ways to do it. Actually, I don't say it's fairly easy. I haven't really done it myself, but I do know that the capability of it exists is the Wayback Machine.
Yeah,
A lot of these, yeah,
but I mean that should be. I think that that's something that can maybe fall under consumer rights and consumer protection.
that is a very valid argument, I think. I mean, I don't, not that like, or not a lawyer. I don't spun up enough on the law in that regard.
As a consumer, I
but
need to know that if
yeah.
you gave me bad information, what if it was medical information that was wrong? Are you just going to go back and edit that article? No, you're probably going to issue a retraction and notify everybody.
Yeah, I think there are very specific laws for that kind of thing.
So I think consuming it from the consumer rights is going to be, it would be a good approach. And there's already a movement going that direction, which desperately needs to happen. And I kind of think that's going to be the next big thing.
Yeah.
If we make it there.
Yeah, if we make it there, we'll see what happens tomorrow and then the 24th.
Oh God.
So
what's on the 24th?
Fuck, that's a rabbit hole. And one, I'm not sure I want to talk about. So,
it's fine. Save it for next week, and we'll see if anything comes up, or just we can if we need to do like a, hey, let's spin something up and do this story now. We can just throw up an episode whenever. That's fine. But let's go ahead and jump in.
Yeah.
Are you ready to move into the last section?
Actually, I think I will talk about the 24th, but after the end.
Okay.
And you'll understand why at the end.
Oh, so like just like not part of the podcast end?
No, it is part of I mean, I would say, but for reasons I think you'll understand later.
That's fine.
Probably should have it in the podcast, but it's after what you want to do at the end.
Okay, that's fine. So the next thing I wanted to do was I'm going to present to you two examples of the same Bible verses. Okay? I'm going to present to you, and first, I don't know why, guys. I will. Oh, sorry. I shouldn't respond like that. Thank you for telling me. It's a bad habit. Okay, so lately I have been having this keep hitting my head, like in the shower, on the toilet, all the places where you think, and these verses just for some reason keep coming to me. I don't know why, but I wanted to look at them because I think maybe it will help some people kind of with where things are with the current times. Maybe it'll help some people kind of to see the world develop and where it may go. But I also wanted to look at some of the differences between the King James Version and the New English Version of the Bible. And it's not to say one is better than the other. It's just to acknowledge the differences and how things can change over time. And back to the title of the thing, words matter. So I'm going to go through both of them. I'll read the New English Version first, and then I'll go through the King James Version, and I'll try to point out a couple things that I thought that I saw earlier. So the New English Version of Matthew 24, 6 through 13. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains. Then you will be handed over to be persecuted and put to death, and you will be hated by all nations because of me. At that time, many will turn away from the faith and will betray and hate each other. And many false prophets will appear and deceive many people. Because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most will grow cold. But the one who stands firm to the end will be saved. The New English Version usually is a little bit easier to read for people that don't have that are more in line with, it's more aligned with kind of like modern terminology, modern words, and that I think the Bible kind of adjusts slowly over time. One thing that the New English Version usually did, at least in most versions of it that I've seen, or most prints of it, was they actually changed or addressed gender terminology of God in it. Like they would change he to God in examples. That's one thing that I've noticed as far as primarily between the two. Certainly not a specialist, but the King James Version kind of gets into more of what I think like old timey languages, and it still rings pretty true. As far as I think it's still pretty understandable. But let's go through it. So we'll go through Matthew 24, 6 through 13 of the King James Version. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines, and pestilences, and earthquakes in divers places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you. And ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. What do you... I'll give you free rein to go through either of these. What does this stir up for you? What are some thoughts? Do you feel like this kind of feels like it feels like we're heading towards some kind of wall direction end that we can't see, right?
Yeah, I laugh because he used my terminology.
I know.
It's yeah, obviously. I've been saying that from the beginning. I think that I don't know if I said this to you, but I kind of feel like the wall is a dam, actually, and whatever is being held by the other side, I'm beginning to see leaks and cracks and stuff in the wall, and of course, speaking in metaphors here, and it's beginning to leak because I'm beginning to see signs of what is the metaphorical water on the other side, and these kind of prophetic Bible verses definitely reflect a lot of the sentiment today. The only issue, I'll say only, but an issue I have with it is that you can look through history and can't name anything off the top of my head right now where you would see this kind of rhetoric. Maybe even before the World War I and World War II, you see how this could apply to those times as well as today. But it definitely stirs something within what a Christian, would say within their soul. And that has, we can start going down the path of the Holy Spirit and, how the faithful have this intuition, this feeling. Some feel it physically, some just have like a thought in their mind, or, everyone, for the most part, probably slightly different in how they understand the Holy Spirit and whatnot. And I'm not going to say I have the greatest understanding. But when I read this, when you were going through it and reading it, of course, my mind instantly goes like almost a pareidolia type effect where it starts putting things, I start seeing how it directly responds to, current times. And the feelings that I get are of wonder, not so much fear, kind of, because it's kind of like I've almost expecting whatever's coming next, and I've already come to terms with whatever it is, and I'm ready for it. And so for me personally, um, it's like it's out of my hands, so I'm not going to worry about it. And the words here kind of tells you that in the end you will be rewarded. You will go through pain, you will go through suffering, but in the end you'll be rewarded. And that's with faith, you have that assurance that in the end everything will be okay. So that's kind of how I feel about the whole thing.
In
Is
the end, God
even with all
wins.
the pains that you start getting the mark of the beast with a chip in your hand or whatever, like I'm going to refuse it straight up, and I don't care what happens.
Well, I mean that goes into
And
the persecution and all of that, and that's
yeah,
where he's saying you would become part of the system, and I think that's kind of where the reason that I think this echoes a little bit more or vibrates a little bit more right now is because we are able to see the manifestation of a global system come together, of actually being feasible, of actually being implemented. And I think maybe that's just kind of like, hey, like, I think people know where it's going to go. I would love to stop all of that, but I also know that, like, as an individual, I can't do anything about that. Even if I spent my entire life making lots of money, I might be able to make a drop in the bucket. But what I can do that's going to hold significantly more value is to talk about it,
yeah,
but to save at least one person. And I'll admit, last week, like I've been struggling with myself, trying to say, should I actually like remove my impassioned feelings from last week's episode? And I don't want to. And like I've gotten to the point that I don't care if you want to laugh and all of that stuff. Like none of that stuff matters anymore.
yeah. That's definitely a framework and a perspective that I have taken on many things, which is probably one of the reasons why I keep saying like I'm a true moderate. Now is that I am not going to allow one side or another to dictate how I think and how I should think. Like an example from the right, just to kind of, since we're always harping on the left, is people saying that you need to watch this video, you need to be radicalized in one way or another, and that's like someone else telling me what to do and how I should feel is I wholeheartedly reject. And while I understand the message that they believe that they are trying to send, I'm not going to be told what to do anymore. So I'm going to do what is within my faith and what is within what I believe is just and right. And anyone tries to put their boot on my neck, I'm taking that leg, that type of thing.
I think the
So,
reason that, I mean, for me, it's like I see kind of like what you say is self-fulfilling prophecy in this,
hmm
because with everything we've described today, your postures, most people's postures, taking a defensive approach and meeting force with force on a long enough timeline, if you're not moving the needle the other direction, you end up in a situation.
yeah, that is actually something I've been trying to wrestle with
I feel,
because
yeah, go ahead.
it's like the rumors of wars and the fact that one side is constantly, engaging in violence, while many on that side are saying that the left is or the right is the cause of it all, and it's projection, whatever. But it does get to a point where you're backed in the corner and you have to push back and you go on the offensive, and it's a very precarious way, and I don't have a solution to this. But the moment you go on the offensive, it gives them ammunition to support everything that they're accusing you of, which is kind of the point of what they're doing. It's an ebb and flow, like you're saying. Like one side will get beaten down, and then they'll rise up and push back, and then that will later be used by the side who's now been pushed down, after the other side rose up, and it just kind of creates this dynamic of, again, ebb and flow of political rhetoric and violence and recourse, and you know so it's I don't have a solution on how to do this. I mean, there is the ultimate solution, which I don't agree with, is complete and utter annihilation of the other side, and then you don't have to worry about it. But that goes into authoritarianism, and that's
That
absolutely
also
no.
goes against
So
values,
exactly,
because
but
in doing so, see, the thing
yeah,
is like, even if you take out an extreme, let's just say you take out a terrorist, right? Well, it doesn't mean
you
all of
create
their
three in its place.
exactly, the people that knew them, the people that were friends with them, like that's what gets created. And I mean, that's the exact same effect that happens whenever like they hit Charlie,
Mhm.
except they made a lot more. And
Well, Charlie, the problem is that, I'll say a problem. I don't want to phrase it in that way. I mean, I don't think I need to say it for you, but I mean, some people who come across this at a later time may need to hear this. But the reason why that Charlie made such a massive impact with his death is because he is a reflection of everyone who is trying to exist within the space of conversation, regardless if you're on the left or the right. Um, because he wasn't a politician. He was a religious man who spoke true to his word and to the word of God. And he was exercising his First Amendment rights. And by them killing him while he was in the practice therein, communicates that to everyone that you don't that or from the left side doesn't care about what you have to say. They only want you dead because they don't agree with you. And then, of course, that's reinforced by all the despicable videos and cheering and singing and everything else that happened from a significant portion of the left, which are now facing the consequences of losing their jobs and everything else. But it was because everybody within the space of public discourse saw that that could have been them, and may not, like individuals like you and I may not be, as high profile as him, but it could have been you and I walking down the street. Someone came across our videos at some point, didn't like something that I said, found out where I lived, and as I'm walking into the coffee shop, they shoot me. That's an example of how a lot of people who are trying to be vocal now see that that is an actual possibility. And when before it was kind of like, oh, we live in a high enough trust society where, I mean, yeah, maybe against politicians, but not against free citizens. Come on. But
right,
that's completely out the window now.
right, that line got crossed, until it's just
Yeah.
the next line that gets crossed is they literally go into your homes, which is kind of like that video that we started with earlier today.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And and yeah, if the moment that happens, it's,
It's still not enough to force people to go over to for the right side to do it. The right side does
yeah,
not have I'm sorry. I'll rephrase it. The Christian spirit does not have that malicious intent to destroy another people. They
yeah.
just don't.
Well, of course, the people who are not Christians will say crusades, 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 and they don't understand what the crusades were. And it's been
I mean, honestly, let
so,
let them go ahead and keep preaching that shit, because all they're going to do is invoke it.
yep, like I've been saying,
And I mean, honestly, like if you guys really want to keep that shit going and have that shit go that direction, I'm not gonna stop it.
yeah, I'm going to get out of the way, because at that point, it's almost, I don't want to say like it's a mandate from God, but there, it's kind of like one argument that I do foresee running into with my friend at one point is when this type of situation or topic comes up during our probably 8-hour debate we're going to have. Um, it's how do I say? Okay, give me 1 second to frame this in my mind. The Christians as a whole, like you said, aren't trying to go out there and slaughter people like you would see in many other religions and how open and everything else. Of course, there are extremist sects, but those aren't part of this conversation. It's turning the other cheek. That's what Jesus always said: turn the other cheek, so that they may strike the other one, type of thing. But he also says to continue to live in order to continue your worship of God. And that, I don't remember the exact Bible phrase or whatever that talks about that, but that creates the incentive of the Crusades. That
Yep.
creates the biblical and religious spiritual framework to begin to conduct offensive operations against those who would seek to kill a Christian. Because God wants his believers to live and to exist inside their creation. So that is a justification that I don't think many people who believe, what they've been believing, saying what they've been saying about Charlie Kirk and cheering, can really understand. We haven't crossed a threshold where the 10th crusade is going to begin, but we are dangerously close to it. And the moment you begin to invade the sanctity of one's home, one's private home, for because you disagree with their politics and what they say, and they are actively engaging, it is all bets are off. The last bastion that anybody has is their home.
So
You remove the security from that, it will begin.
the threat that you speak of an external religious threat in that context, right?
Well, yes. When you're speaking about a crusade, I mean, of course, it mostly, for the
Well,
best of my knowledge, I'm not spun up as mostly against Islam and the
right.
invasion and killing a Christian, so on and so forth. I won't get too deep into the history because I don't know it,
That's fine.
good enough to speak to it too much. But
I wanted to just see what your thoughts were whenever we add in the concept of what's going on in the UK right now,
what do you mean?
and the EU and the
Oh, the immigration
well, I just
invasion or whatever.
yes, that tied with the government literally going and sitting inside asking if you made a mean tweet.
Ooh, violence has. I think the difference in the context would be it's when they no longer go in to arrest you, they just go in to kill you for saying something. I think that's I mean, that they are on that line. They are, their big toe is maybe slightly over the line
Right. So if
to into that.
to keep on that train, you said to if they were just to go in to kill you, well, all you have to do to change that variable is to remove you from your position and then kill you later.
Yes, but it also has to be a perception thing. It has to be that the general Christian now sees it that no matter what, I'm going to be killed. That's when a crusade begins.
I think that's when your holy. I
And
think that's when your holier warriors get their fill. Because
yes,
I believe that there are people that are meant on this earth that are meant for spiritual combat in the physical sense.
yeah, yep. And they are probably the most dangerous people alive because of there is nothing scarier than someone who believes with utmost certainty that they have divine protection and that no matter what happens, they have the backing of the creator. And yeah, it's
Well,
people don't understand that just how emboldened and strength and how much that belief will literally change the physiology of a person and make them stronger, faster, think better. Because when fear is stripped from the human mind, and you are only and is replaced with complete and holy zealotry. The biological limiters that actually encompass or limit or restrict the full use of the muscle fibers within our bodies, when that is removed and that is how you remove it, you don't know what fear is yet. And that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I think we've gotten a taste of it because of the religion that was created on the left, that or the religion that's existed on the left and is being used against us. But no, to its full extent, I truly don't think the majority of people have any concept of what a zealot actually is or is capable of.
Not yet, no. No. Not in modern society, no. Because the Crusades, I mean, I keep bringing that up because the amount of holy zealotry that was in the Crusades has been unmatched throughout history, from what I can tell. There may have been, stuff in Asia and stuff like that, but it's just the ferociousness of a holy Christian warrior is lost to history. So,
Yeah, it'll come back. I'm sure it will.
I rather it didn't, but I fear you are right.
I don't want to be right. That's why I say it out loud.
Yeah, exactly.
Trust me, I'm the kind of person that doesn't want to be right. I would prefer to be wrong.
Me too.
So that's why I allow myself to be wrong, so I can think ahead and see what's possible. But I wanted to just pick on one word real quick, and then I think that
Okay.
I'm kind of ready to kind of wrap everything up. Um, most. So the context is because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most will grow cold.
Mm-hmm.
Versus, and because all iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold.
Most versus many.
Most versus many.
There is significantly different context there.
What is it? What's the difference that you see?
Visiting that love that many shall wax cold versus the most shall. Is it okay? Go back to the other one real quick. And it says most will grow cold. And the many is the new or the old? King James.
Old.
Old is the King James, or many is the King James. Okay. Wait. So the many is okay. The most is the King James, right?
Mm-mm. Many is the
Or is it
King
the
James.
inverse? Many is the King James. Many will grow cold. Well, most. I'm trying to think of this through a religious perspective here in context. Let me think about this for a sec. There is significant difference. That's the fact they changed that word. Man, it's almost like they're trying to paint that
There are unredeemable people.
almost the entire world will be against you.
At some point, they will.
Versus,
I mean, depending on where in the process, I could see both applying.
yeah,
Depending on where in the exact scheme of events, or depending on maybe, I don't know if it's a translation, but the New English version, I think, was based on the King James version and then adapted.
yeah. I don't remember the history of it. The pastor and the church I used to be with talked about this a few times, but I just don't remember the specifics of it. But the
We
fact that many versus most, it's a significant. It's not. I'll say it this way: it is not insignificant of the quantity difference between many and most, because
Exactly.
most is considered like 20 or 75%, or many could be 25 to 50%.
Yep.
So most is greater than 75%.
Yep.
So it's kind of a man. That's I
I
can have to think about that.
My first thought is, and I'm probably not right, but my first thought is it limits the scope of who actually gets through and gets saved. saying most will grow.
Yeah.
I think saying most will grow cold versus many. I think that's saying, well, there's not going to be as many people for you to save. And I don't agree with that because I believe that everybody can be saved.
Well, that's within the crux of the core of the religion, is that everyone,
Just
deserves and can be saved, even
even
after the most atrocious acts. So,
well, maybe that's become part of just how I operate, but that's just how I see the world. I think
yeah.
anybody can be saved
And
naively,
I mean, I
but
have, like many of the disciples, even after seeing the resurrection, I definitely have my doubts, but that makes me human. But I'm just, yeah, I agree. It's almost like them trying to tell you that, um, in a way, I was thinking about the Bible today and how, like, even from the Council of Nicaea from Caesar Augustus, when the current version of the Bible was, the current iteration of the Bible. Like, yeah, there's different versions, but it's the same iteration.
mhm.
Um, the apocryphal texts, or the texts that were once considered to be part of the canonical religion, has now been removed, and I don't want to say they're considered heretic, but they're apocryphal. And the fact that a lot of those books were removed because it went against some of the teachings of the churches and everything else, it's just and with the manipulation of the history textbooks, like I talked about before in the past, like between the 1980s to now, take a look, there's going to be some significant differences in the way that things were described, and who exactly, what was the instigation, stuff like that in World War II. And anyways, um, the I have a lot of problems with the way the Bible is now, especially with the differences and even these small little tweaks. Because how many of these small little tweaks have changed? What has been lost in mistranslation? Because there's a lot of stuff that's been lost in mistranslation. I think even down to the "thou shalt not kill" versus "thou shalt not murder." That is a significant difference.
Yeah, it is.
So, depending on which version of the Bible you have, that's like the most glaring example.
I mean,
And
that's
one says, "Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not murder."
yeah. I mean that
So,
kind of goes into the exact thing that I'm pointing out here: many versus most.
yes, I mean that's the reason why I bring it up, because there are multiple examples of this.
Yep. And what that does is
And
that changes the definition, it changes the
yes,
understanding, it changes the context.
yes. Well, it's kind of like maybe even going down to like um, death. But wow, I can't think of the terms. Freaking um, death penalty
Right.
for crimes like what's they're trying to do for the assassin of Charlie Kirk. There are many people who say that "thou shalt not kill" means you shall not kill. You do not kill another human being, and that is based upon, I believe, the King James version. But the actual meaning, when it came from Hebrew, with the original Bible, I forget the word, but it means
Thou shalt not
murder.
murder. Yeah.
Thou shalt not
And
murder. So the
that
original translation, yeah,
I thought it's because kill and murder are actually two different words.
I believe so.
Right.
I'm not anyway
I
a
remember
Hebrew
seeing some.
scholar,
Yeah, I remember seeing something about that from. It may have been the same video, but it was a while back. Yeah.
but I mean, yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I have my doubts about many of it, and I go with what feels right to me. And it's very difficult for me to describe. I don't want to go too deep into this.
Well,
Um,
there is the message and the intent is still true. So you're saying that
yes,
you just aren't going to pick, say, just this version and say this is the one I'm going to go with. You're going to still take an all-inclusive approach of what's being presented.
correct,
I think I mean, that's
correct.
just a logical way to approach any situation.
Yeah,
Um,
but I mean, but the thing about it is, though, even with the church I used to be a part of, they were adamant of the New International Version versus the King James Version, and the pastor never really could give me a reason why. other than that maybe this was the newest one and it's closest to modern times and it makes the most sense for modern times or
The
something.
reason that's the reason people usually that's the reason that's usually been given. It's because it's written for people that have modern language to understand it.
Yeah, but I mean, kind of going back to the whole, this does actually tie into what I was going to say about the 24th. Um, so, did you know that Hebrew was not a spoken language until the early part of the 19th century, 1900s?
No, I did not know that.
Hebrew, or maybe okay, no, I think it was Hebrew. It was primarily used for a very, very long time. I don't remember the exact dates, and I could be off on some of this stuff. But in general, the meaning, what I'm trying to say is, I believe correct, or what I think is correct. It was not until a Russian Jew, pre-Soviet Union, or maybe it was the beginning of the Soviet Union, actually used what was okay, let me caveat this. Hebrew was a spoken language, but it was not spoken in conversations. It was only spoken in religious context, and it was only used to write religious text.
Okay.
The
So
way
it
that
wasn't a
the
conversational language.
correct. So
Okay.
it's very similar to how you could view Latin today, because Latin is used to describe things for science and all that, and some other stuff like that. It's similar context, but of course in the religious sense. So Hebrew would only really be spoken in church while praying, or through certain rituals, stuff like that. It was not until the formation of the state of Israel that Hebrew actually got a conversational adaptation. So I'm not going to get into the reasons for that, or speculative reasons, or whatever.
What
But
language did they
it,
speak before?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
It's just some information that I came across. I did a little bit of research on it, not enough to be a scholar, not by any stretch of the imagination.
How dare you?
But yeah, but it's just that kind of raised a interesting red flags because the Jewish people believe that they are the chosen people in the state of Israel. I'm not going to dive too deep into that. But the reason why I said the 24th is very significant is because that is the second day of the Jewish New Year, of their 2-day holiday that begins on the what is it? Let's see, at the beginning on September 22nd at dusk until the 24th at dusk for the Jewish New Year. In Israel, of course, we were talking about the red heifers at some point, about some of the stuff that's been going on with that and how it's kind of been. I don't know what the current situation is of that, but there are a lot of weird things happening this time that is not normal to the best of my knowledge. And one of them is 100 rabbis playing trumpets at the end.
Eh?
Yeah. So there's a lot of weird things that are occurring over there, and I'm not trying. I guess I am insinuating something is going to happen. I'm not going to begin to insinuate what that is, but the amount of chatter from various sources um, are saying that whatever happens on the 24th, do not believe it. So
What if it's the birth of the Antichrist?
I'm not going to comment on anything other than if something happens on the 24th, be careful. Don't necessarily believe it. So I don't know what's going to
Performing 100
happen.
times each day
Maybe
during the
it's
services symbolizes spiritual awakening. So they're just doing all 100 at the end. This may just be performative. Like I could see the
that's an example of what they're doing. I'm just saying that in general, that it's just, I guess what I'm trying to say is that there is a lot of chatter from various sources that I would hold somewhat, some of them somewhat credible, some of them very credible, that something may or something is likely to happen on the 24th, and be careful.
Okay. So yeah.
Just don't. Yeah, it's a general warning,
No,
and
that's
I've seen it too much, too often, and from various sources for me to just ignore it.
you're just
But again,
are you telling all of the amazing Jewish people that are watching to be careful, and all the other people that if something happens, just be diligent with your research and your knowledge and
well, that as well as the non-Jewish people around the world.
oh, that's what I meant. I meant
So
everybody. Yeah.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, just like everybody in general. Like I don't know if things going to happen. I mean, Occam's razor would suggest nothing's going to happen. It's just going to be another Jewish holiday, and there's people out there trying to inflame shit,
Correct.
especially with the current political climate. But if something does happen, just take a measured approach.
Yeah. So all of the possibilities are there. I think that this kind of overlaps with what we were talking about earlier. So if you're going to the Charlie Kirk event or that's related, pay attention to that tomorrow. Let's make sure everybody's safe. Keep yourself safe, lock your doors, just be diligent with your own safety.
Mm-hmm.
And then, this too, since this is a Jewish holiday and we're seeing a bunch of, is it Islamic kind of examples
No,
popping up? What's the right way to frame
it's
that?
it's the best way I can say it is there's something from what some of the sources were saying where, God, how do I frame this without getting shot? No,
Tell you what,
yeah,
you message it to me and I'll say it. I don't care.
no. I'm just trying. Honestly, I'm just taking a moment to think about it.
Yeah, it's fine.
Essentially, it's more a Zionist versus Jewish situation. So
Interesting.
depending on how you understand the Zionist mentality versus the Orthodox Jewish mentality or whatnot, it's just kind of a. I'm not saying like there's going to be some kind of fight there. I'm not, that's one thing I make clear. I'm not insinuating that. It's just more of certain actions that have been done by is the government of Israel that kind of seems like they're. I'm just going to fucking say it, trying to bring about Armageddon. And there are people out there who are thinking that they are going to um, do something, and that everybody around the world is going to see something that isn't actually there.
Okay.
So I don't know what that. I mean, all of these people that I've seen this from, and someone I have talked to, have framed it that way because they can't say it out loud. So
Strange. But
yeah.
the good news is, I think that's a good spot to kind of call it for the day. But we will also get an opportunity to, I guess, follow up on it next week. So, Brewer,
Yeah.
your homework for next week is to follow up on it. If nothing happened, then well, good. But if something does
Yeah.
happen, we need all the deets. We need all the details.
Well,
Are you satisfied with today, sir?
yeah, I think we had a good conversation and, talked about the various important topics and how they all kind of relate to one another and how it is important and how we say things and the manner in which we say it because it could be misconstrued or taken out of context or inflame an already rising temperature. So that's one reason why I took the moment to try to figure out if I wanted to say what I said at the end there. Because again, I'm not like I don't necessarily believe anything's going to happen. I do want to make that plainly clear. But it's just there's enough for me to take notice and put it into my sensory. Um,
Something to look at.
yeah, just something to keep an eye on. Whether or not anything happens or not, I don't know. I doubt it because how many times have this kind of rhetoric been out there and absolutely fucking nothing happens?
Well,
So
I would rather consider the possibility to help gauge where
exactly.
reality actually is or where spirituality actually is. It's just an indicator. It doesn't mean it's a definitive.
Hmm.
I feel like hard committing just too many certain ideas, especially right now, is going to hang some people up. So
Yep.
let's just stay ready to receive and ready to understand and be kind. And yeah, go ahead and give us an outro.
Yeah. All right. Well, as I like to say is be kind, be understanding, and try to lift those around you because sometimes we all just need a little help. And, you know, be an ear for someone to listen to and try to work together as much as you can to get through these trying times because there's more to come.